3235 Semi-Divine Healing Pill 2. Because he had been unconscious, he didn't know that Feng Wu had saved his life. Mr. Lu asked, "How long have I been unconscious?" Feng Wu said, "You've been unconscious since last night." Last night? Mr. Lu calculated the time, and his expression turned ugly. He grabbed his black gold combat boots and put them on. His valiant appearance made him look like he was going for a duel. "Where are you going?" Feng Wu looked displeased. Mr. Lu shook his head. "A child like you shouldn't be concerned with that. What you should do is cultivate and strive to break through. You have to become stronger as soon as possible." With that, Mr. Lu was about to rush out. "Do you want to die?" Feng Wu stared at Mr. Lu and enunciated each word. "Your meridians are aging severely. Under normal circumstances, a spiritual saint shouldn't be like this. You have been taking semi-divine healing pills, right?" Mr. Lu turned around and stared at her with his dark eyes. "Semi-divine healing pills? How did she know that?" Feng Wu asked, "Are you terminally ill?" Mr. Lu's back stiffened. He stared at her with cold eyes. Suddenly he forced a smile. "What are you talking about?" Feng Wu stared at him solemnly and said in a serious tone, "When I checked your pulse last night, I knew you were using semi-divine healing pills to extend your life, but neither the general nor Mr. Su knew about it. Therefore, I didn't tell anyone else about this. You and I are the only ones." Mr. Lu stared at her without saying anything. Feng Wu asked, "You only have less than a year left, right?" Mr. Lu's pupils contracted, and he was ready to attack. However, he quickly realized Feng Wu was the daughter of the general and definitely not a spy of the Dongsang kingdom. That was why he didn't make a move. It was a critical piece of information. If the Dongsang nation knew about this, who knew what they would do? Feng Wu looked at him. "Doesn't the general know?" Mr. Lu said, "The general knows a little, but he doesn't know it's so serious." Feng Wu said, "Have you thought about this? If you die, the situation on peaceful grassland will change drastically." Mr. Lu gave her a warning look. "That's exactly why we can't let anyone else know." Feng Wu asked, "But what will happen a year from now?" Mr. Lu's expression suddenly softened. "Fortunately, your all-purpose liquid helped Hellion advance to the Spirit Saint stage." Feng Wu said, "He just entered that stage. Can he replace you?" Mr. Lu fell silent. He looked at the first rays of dawn on the horizon and suddenly smiled. "When I'm gone, someone will eventually grow up. Are you willing to leave this world?" Feng Wu looked at Mr. Lu. Mr. Lu smiled bitterly. "Life and death are determined by fate. Riches and honor are determined by the heavens. My lifespan has reached its limit." He was at the peak of the Spirit Saint stage. Who would have thought he would have a terminal illness? He had no choice but to give in to his fate. I can only blame myself for focusing on cultivating my stages back then and neglecting the cultivation of my physical body. Mr. Lu smiled bitterly. The ancient saying is right. Cultivating one's spirit and not one's body is the #1 illness of cultivation. Mr. Lu chuckled. "I only wanted to improve my cultivation, so I often cultivated in seclusion. I forgot about my physical strength. Therefore, my advancement speed was extremely fast. From time to time, I would even advance 2 levels in a row." 3236 Physical Cultivation. I have an advantage in cultivating the spiritual side because my perception is much stronger than others. It's also because of this that I've always been biased toward this aspect. My spirit has reached the spiritual saint stage, but my physical body is far behind. Of course, after reaching that stage, my defenses naturally increased, but that's about it. At this stage, my body meridians have become stagnant. Mr. Lu shook his head. "It's impossible for me to go back and cultivate my physical body." He turned to Feng Wu and warned her earnestly, "Kiddo, if one only cultivates the spirit but not the body, they'll be pestered by a myriad of evil spirits. You must remember this." A chill ran down Feng Wu's spine. In fact, she had always been cultivating her spirit as well. Her level kept increasing, and she often advanced 2 or 3 levels at a time. Her speed was incredible. She also had a vague feeling that her meridians were blocked. She remembered what her master had taught her. At that time, she could have advanced quickly, but her beautiful master hadn't allowed it, and only wanted her to train her body. That was why she was called a prodigy, but her cultivation level wasn't high. When she asked her beautiful master how to help Feng Xiaoqi with his cultivation, her master told her that the first thing to do was to temper Feng Xiaoqi's body. The cultivation of his spirit could wait. Feng Wu had listened to her master and refused to let Feng Xiaoqi cultivate even on the most difficult days. She only let him cultivate when he achieved the ultimate spiritual body. She had actually forgotten that. Over the past year, she had been so immersed in her cultivation that she had forgotten the most important lesson her beautiful master had taught her. At that thought, she broke out in a cold sweat and felt a chill run down her spine. Mr. Lu was relieved to see her reaction. Feng Wu looked at Mr. Lu. Does that mean a person will get a terminal illness when his physical strength falls behind? Mr. Lu smiled bitterly. I thought that wasn't the case, but look what happened to me. Feng Wu fell silent. A dignified expert at the peak of the spirit saint stage had a terminal illness. If word of this were to spread, the probability is very low, but it's not entirely possible. Mr. Lu stared at Feng Wu seriously. It's up to fate whether you're chosen or not. When I got sick later on, I looked for information and researched it. I found, Mr. Lu took a deep breath. People who skip levels, which is to say, people who cultivate faster, have a higher probability of getting sick. It's probably a 1 in 10,000 chance. Mr. Lu nodded. You're so lucky. You should be fine. Feng Wu smiled wryly. Sometimes, when she was unlucky, she didn't believe it herself. After saying this, Mr. Lu headed for the door. Feng Wu asked, "Where are you going?" Mr. Lu said, "The general and the Dongsang kingdom's Shui Jibei arrange to battle every 3 days. Mr. Su and I guard them while they fight." She was speechless. No wonder it was so difficult to meet the general. He had a life-and-death battle every 3 days. I must go. Mr. Lu turned around and was about to leave. Feng Wu said, "They're gone." Mr. Lu stared at her. Feng Wu said, "Last night, while you were unconscious, the general left with Mr. Su and Elder Hellion." Mr. Lu's expression instantly turned extremely ugly. Shit. With that, he turned on his heel and headed for the door, moving as fast as he could. When Feng Wu came out, she only saw Mr. Lu disappearing into the distance. As for where he had gone, she had no idea. 32-37 fighter jet. The difference in their capability was too great. Feng Wu stood rooted to the ground. Her godfather had looked awful last night and Mr. Lu was so worried just now. She had a bad feeling about this. Something big was about to happen. What annoyed Feng Wu was that she was still too weak to interfere. Feng Wu rubbed her forehead and felt she had to cultivate her physical body as soon as possible. Just then, someone rushed into the room. It was Feng Sun. His voice arrived before he did. "Xiao Wu, something bad has happened. Something bad has happened." Feng Wu's stomach lurched. Could it be her godfather? Just as Feng Wu's face turned pale, Feng Sun grabbed her hand. He was sweating profusely. "This is bad. This is really bad." Feng Wu asked, "What happened?" "You'll know when you get back. Come with me." Feng Sun had no idea that his father had to fight Shui Jibei every 3 days, nor did he know how dangerous the situation was. He was anxious about something else. When Feng Wu went back to her room and saw the door, she realized that something was wrong. The inscription she had set up with the phoenix pen had been tampered with. Feng Sun was about to push the door open to enter, but Feng Wu shook her head. She took a few steps forward and studied the inscription carefully, memorizing all the details. If her inscription was altered by someone else, no matter how careful they were, there would still be traces left behind. Feng Sun was so anxious that he was practically jumping around. Thankfully, Feng Wu pushed the door open after she was done. Nothing else had been touched except for the fighter jet. Feng Wu had already dismantled the fighter jet and sorted those parts into categories. Now, everything else was there except for what she was most worried about had happened. Feng Sun looked at Feng Wu. Did you lose anything? Anything? Feng Wu didn't reply. Instead, she asked Feng Sun, how did you know something was wrong? Feng Sun said, I've been standing guard at the door. Xian Yi and I have been here because we know this fighter jet is precious and we can't afford to lose it. However, scratching his head in embarrassment, Feng Sun looked at Feng Wu guiltily. But I went to the toilet and when I came back, Xian Yi was lying on the ground, and I saw a shadow disappear before my eyes. I chased after that person, but they were too strong. They were at least a spiritual overlord. I couldn't catch up at all. Yang Jihu saw this and helped me to chase that person. I wonder if he can take them down. I saw a package on that person's back, but it shouldn't be a fighter jet, right? That fighter jet is so big. How can it be? Feng Wu smacked her forehead. It's the fighter jet, she told Feng Sun. Someone stole it. What? How can that be? I remember that the package isn't all that big. It was less than a meter long, but a fighter jet. At this moment, two people rushed in from outside. They were none other than Elder Mu and Elder Yen. Elder Mu stared at Feng Wu. Where's the fighter jet? Answer me. Where's the fighter jet? Elder Yen looked at Feng Wu nervously as well. As soon as they arrived, they heard constant shouts. Catch the thief, catch the thief. Apart from the fighter jet, what else would a person steal from the colonel's quarters? Feng Wu felt a headache coming on. 3238 Furious Feng Wuan. Feng Wu felt a headache coming on. She had performed acupuncture on Mr. Lu last night and didn't sleep at all. When Mr. Lu finally woke up, she was so shocked by what he said that she broke out in a sweat and only just managed to calm down. As soon as she returned, she was told that the inscription propeller of the fighter jet had been stolen. Elder Mu and Elder Yen also wouldn't stop pestering her. Feng Wu was speechless. Elder Yen looked down and saw a pile of metal on the ground. It was obvious that Feng Wu had already dismantled the fighter jet. Elder Yen was thrilled. Did you open the hatch? You've even dismantled it. That's awesome. Feng Wu didn't speak. Elder Yen was still excited. Feng Wu, I didn't expect you to know so much about inscriptions. However, before Elder Yen could finish speaking, Elder Mu interrupted, Where's the inscription propeller? Elder Mu had sharp eyes. The first thing he did after entering was to look for the inscription propeller. However, after searching for a while, there was only a pile of metal. Where was the legendary inscription propeller? Meanwhile, Feng Wu had already squatted down to check on Xian Yi. Thankfully, the person's target wasn't Xian Yi. They only wanted to escape and Xian Yi was only struck once. However, one strike alone was already very serious. Feng Wu applied the semi-divine golden crow ointment on Xian Yi's abdomen. After some thought, she handed him the remaining half of the ointment. If you're injured again, apply it right away. While Feng Wu was treating him, the boy kept watching her in a gentle manner and didn't say a word. Did you hear me? It wasn't until Feng Wu said that he blushed a little and he nodded. Elder Mu, on the other hand, was so anxious that he kept asking Feng Wu, Where's the inscription propeller? Where's the inscription propeller? Feng Wu snapped at him. Can't you tell? Elder Mu said, Is it gone? Feng Wu said, That's right. Elder Mu said, How can it be gone? Why are you? Feng Sun stopped Elder Mu in a hurry. Someone stole it. Elder Mu shook off Feng Sun's hand. Stole it? This is the colonel's quarters. How could it have been stolen? Did you fake the scene and pretend it was stolen because you didn't want to give it back? Feng Sun almost exploded at Elder Mu's words. What? Feng Sun glared at him. Elder Mu, you can't make up things like that. If Xiao Wu steals from us, she won't let Xian get hurt. Elder Mu was still skeptical. Then how did it get stolen? Didn't you guard it? Feng Sun said, Xian Yi and I have been guarding the door. Elder Hellion led Xiao Wu away last night, saying they were. That's enough. Feng Wu gestured at Feng Sun. I'll take care of it. Even the general only vaguely knew about Mr. Lu's injuries, let alone others. She couldn't draw attention to Mr. Lu's condition. However, Elder Mu was displeased by Feng Wu's attitude. You're going to take care of it? You let someone steal the inscription propeller, so how are you going to get it back? How can you make it sound so easy? Feng Sun almost lost his temper at Elder Mu. He was about to charge at him, but Feng Wu pushed him away. Standing in front of Elder Mu, Feng Wu raised her chin arrogantly. Who the hell do you think you are? 3239 Furious Feng Wu, 2. Elder Mu said, Feng Wu said, I won that fighter jet. I can do whatever I want with it and give it to whoever I want. I can throw it away or burn it if it pleases me. What does it have to do with you? Elder Mu said. Feng Wu said, Do you think you're an elder just because I call you that? Who do you think you are? I don't owe you anything. Elder Mu almost vomited blood from anger. Feng Wu said, Don't try to intimidate me. Even my father can't control me. Don't flatter yourself. How dare you talk to me like that? Get lost. Elder Mu's expression was extremely ugly. Seeing that Feng Wu was infuriated, Elder Yen felt a little intimidated. He grabbed Elder Mu and headed for the door. Elder Mu still wanted to struggle, but Elder Yen glared at him. Think about what happened in the general's residence. They had all been there. When the general dragged Feng Wu in, everyone had thought she was done for. However, Feng Wu later came out, patting Mr. Su's shoulder and calling him Old Su. Mr. Su didn't retort and only left angrily. That was enough to prove that Feng Wu had played her cards right in front of the general. Seeing Feng Wu stare at him, Elder Yen felt a chill run down his spine and pushed Elder Mu away. After they left, Feng Sun rubbed her forehead. Speaking of which, Elder Mu is only at the initial stage of the spiritual overlord level. He's not much stronger than me. What's there to be arrogant about? He's just an elder of the magical equipment division. That's why he's so full of himself. Feng Wu nodded. She didn't care about Elder Mu's reaction, but she couldn't stand the fact that the inscription propeller had been stolen. She asked Feng Sun and Xian Yi about the details, but Feng Sun knew nothing. Xian Yi told her, he's almost 2 meters tall and a spiritual overlord. He's fast and a little. Feng Wu asked, a little what? Xian Yi said, he felt like someone from Dongsang. Feng Wu asked, the Dongsang kingdom. Feng Wu frowned a little. She had figured out about half of the inscription propeller after she removed it, so she took the opportunity to block the self-destruct function. Could it be that the Dongsang kingdom had discovered that the inscription propeller couldn't self-destruct? Was that why they sent someone to steal it? This was a possibility, but it definitely wasn't the only possibility. Feng Wu carefully noted down the inscription on the door. The inscription was very similar to modern code. Codes were composed of strings of alphabet letters, but the words used for inscriptions were even more complicated. Ordinary people couldn't master them at all. Only talented people had a chance. The words on the door had been destroyed. Someone had modified them to break her door lock. This person's technique was very agile, and his attainments in inscriptions were extraordinary. He was at least a level 8 inscription master and a spiritual overlord. Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. Feng Sun asked curiously, Xiao Wu, are you getting anywhere? Feng Sun was infuriated when Feng Wu told him her speculation. Could it be Elder Mu? Leaning against the pillar, Xian Yi asked coldly, why can't it be Elder Yen? After that, they both turned to look at Feng Wu. Tilting her head, Feng Wu asked Feng Sun, can you find the 2 elders' inscriptions? To her surprise, Feng Sun said, yes. Seeing how surprised Feng Wu was, Feng Sun said, we have the magical equipment division. The elders both work there, so if you want to find their work, you can find it there. Feng Wu had heard them mention the magical equipment division several times recently. So, Exactly what is the magical equipment division? Feng Wu asked in confusion. 3240 going to see Jun Linyuan again. Feng Sun said, the magical equipment division is one of the two divisions on the same level as our combat division. They're both led by the general. The main function of the magical equipment division is to design and create inscription and formation weapons. They also apply inscriptions and formations on normal weapons. It's a very mysterious place. Even the elders might not know where it is. Feng Wu asked, is it that secret? Feng Sun said, that's right. The masters of inscriptions and formations recruited from the two institutes and from among civilians have probably all gathered there. There's a level 9 inscription master in there. He's also a level 9 formation master. Feng Sun's eyes lit up at the mention of him. I heard he's the only hope for the Junwo Empire to build a fighter jet. Feng Wu frowned. Level 9. Feng Sun said, that's right. He's known as a grandmaster in the magical equipment division. If you see him, don't call him master. You have to call him grandmaster, or he'll get angry. Feng Wu said, is he that arrogant? Feng Sun said, of course. He's our only chance to build a fighter jet. What do you think? Even our father treats him with respect. Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. Feng Wu could accept the fact that the person who stole her fighter jet was from the Junwo Empire. However, if this person was from the Dongsang Kingdom, he would definitely be a spy. Moreover, he was a spy who had been in the fortress for many years. She would never forgive such a person. Feng Wu was definitely going to get to the bottom of this. No one could escape unscathed after stealing something from her. However, how serious the punishment was would depend on whether this person was a spy. The last thing Feng Wu wanted was for the magical equipment division to be involved. Otherwise, it would mean there was a spy there. Feng Wu rubbed her forehead. The general was dealing with an urgent situation, and something ominous was about to happen. The current situation had become very difficult. With her current strength, she couldn't help the general. Hence, all she could do now was to catch the spy hidden in the fortress. Perhaps she could follow the clues and find out who was behind that spy. Feng Sun asked Feng Wu, what should we do now? Feng Wu said, we wait. Feng Wu nodded. She didn't have much time left. The second immortal spiritual fruit would ripen in 5 days. Before that, she had to infiltrate Mr. Sakiya's team and steal the fruit. Before that, she had to catch the spy. Jun Linyuan. Why hadn't he come out of seclusion yet? Feng Wu went to see Jun Linyuan again. As she had expected, Jun Linyuan still hadn't come out. When she asked Feng, he gave a wry smile and said that the seclusion could take anywhere between 5 days and several months. Feng Wu was speechless. She couldn't wait that long. Hence, she asked bluntly, how do I get into the magical equipment division? Feng asked curiously, Miss Wu, do you want to join the magical equipment division? Feng Wu nodded and told the steward about the inscription propeller she had disassembled. The steward was shocked. Miss Wu, are you researching the fighter jet? Feng Wu nodded seriously. The Junwo Empire is too weak in that aspect, and the enemy's military is much stronger than ours. They're still developing, but what are we doing? I noticed Feng Sun and the others don't have any inscriptions on their weapons yet. 3241 South Mountain Forbidden Zone. Feng nodded. We're indeed short of inscription masters. We have them now, but they're not capable enough. You can go to the magical equipment division and see how they're doing if you want. With the token His Majesty gave you, they won't be able to stop you, the steward said. But it would be great if you had an excuse. Feng Wu asked, an excuse? Feng nodded. Isn't your godfather the general? He can write you a note. Feng Wu smiled wryly. He went to fight Xue Jibei. Feng nodded. That's true. They do that every 3 days, and the battles go on and on. Feng Wu asked curiously, why do they have to fight every 3 days? The steward smiled bitterly. That's Xue Jibei's request. After some thought, the steward said to Feng Wu in all seriousness, your father is an amazing man. He's incredible. Feng Wu asked, Really? She had met the general. He was indeed a beautiful middle-aged man. He was arrogant to others, but he was very gentle to her, the little daughter he had just met. Other than that, she had never heard of anything incredible about the general. Feng looked into the distance with admiration in his eyes. You know the Dongsang kingdom has always been more powerful than the Junwo Empire. Feng Wu nodded. Feng said, They have fighter jets and inscription bombs, but have you seen them use those things? Feng Wu shook her head. The steward gave Feng Wu a serious look. That's why your father agreed to Xue Zhibei's request. They'll fight every 3 days until one side falls. If the general loses, Xue Zhibei will lead an army equipped with inscription weapons to crush the Junwo Empire. Feng Wu's heart skipped a beat when she heard Feng's straightforward description. That was crazy. It felt like a sword hanging above their heads, ready to chop off their heads at any moment. Feng Wu asked, Is the Dongsang kingdom that powerful? Feng said, That's right. Feng Wu didn't understand. Then why did Xue Zhibei make this deal with the general? Wouldn't it be easier if he invaded the Junwo Empire and slaughtered all our people like 14 years ago? Because it's a political requirement, the steward said concisely. What political requirement? Feng Wu pressed. But at that point, the steward stopped explaining. Feng Wu said, Are we always going to live under the threat of the Dongsang kingdom's powerful military equipment? Feng only told Feng Wu, We're not completely hopeless. The crown prince is our only hope. Feng Wu asked, Why? Feng said, If he becomes the most powerful man in the world, everything will change. And you? The steward looked at Feng Wu. You're the hope of our empire too. Feng wouldn't say anything else. Feng Wu said goodbye to the steward and went back to the colonel's quarters. Yang Jihu had already returned by then. Yang Jihu was injured, and Xian Yi had already given him the semi-divine golden crow ointment. Therefore, Yang Jihu looked fine except for his pale lips. Yang Jihu said, I fought with that person. They're from the Dongsang kingdom and… Feng Wu said, Go on. Yang Jihu said, That person fled into South Mountain and disappeared. I can't enter the South Mountain Forbidden Zone. Feng Wu frowned. The South Mountain Forbidden Zone is 3242. Who's the suspect? Yang Jihu thought for a moment and told Feng Wu, Legend has it that the Magical Equipment Division is located in the Forbidden Zone of South Mountain, but very few people have the authority to know its exact location. Rubbing her chin, Feng Wu fell into deep thought. Soon she said to Feng Sun, Bring Elder Yen and Elder Mu here. Feng Sun immediately went to carry out the order. Hearing Yang Jihu's words, Feng Wu paced back and forth in her room. What she didn't want to happen the most had happened. The person who stole the inscription propeller was an assassin from the Dongsang kingdom, and it was very likely that this assassin had infiltrated the Magical Equipment Division. In other words, there was a Dongsang assassin hiding in the Magical Equipment Department, which was a terrifying matter. To make it worse, the general and Mr. Lu weren't around. Even Elder Helian wasn't here. The only one who could call the shots was Elder Dongfeng. Feng Wu rubbed her brow, feeling a headache coming on. Elder Yen was fine, but Elder Mu was still a little emotional. Without another word, Feng Wu asked the two elders to draw inscriptions on a board. Elder Yen looked at Feng Wu in confusion because he didn't understand why. Elder Mu had a proud expression on his face. Why should I listen to you? Who do you think I am? Feng Wu said coldly, Someone stole my inscription propeller. I suspect it's one of you. What? Feng Wu's words almost scared the two elders to death. Elder Yen and Elder Mu both stared at Feng Wu in shock. Feng Wu nodded. That's right. I suspect you. Show me your inscriptions. That's your only chance to prove your innocence. Elder Mu didn't look pleased. Feng Wu, don't go too far. You're only a colonel. Elder Yen and I are both generals. To be honest, you should be kneeling now. Feng Wu stared at Elder Mu coldly. Without another word, she took out Emperor Wu's token. She now realized the token was quite useful. Whenever someone of a higher rank tried to show off, the token would bring peace to the world. As expected, when Feng Wu took out the token, Elder Mu's face flushed red with anger, but he didn't dare say anything else. He could only squat on the ground and use a carving knife to carve inscriptions on a wooden board. Every inscription master had their own sequence. The higher their level, the more unique their style. It was just like writing an article. Some people's articles were especially stylish, so even if their names were concealed, it was easy to guess who the author was. The inscription master who had cracked Feng Wu's inscriptions was an advanced one with a great style. Not long after, Elder Yen handed in his work. Feng Wu glanced at it and put it aside. At that moment, Elder Mu slowly handed in his work. Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. She looked at the inscriptions and then at Elder Mu. Elder Mu panicked a little under her gaze. Hey, what kind of look is that? I'm not a thief. Elder Mu was extremely flustered. He asked Elder Yen to testify for him. Yen, I've been with you from the beginning to the end. You can testify for me, right? Elder Yen said to Feng Wu in a hurry, Xiao Wu, Elder Mu has indeed been with me the whole time. We've never been apart. Feng Wu knew it wasn't Elder Mu. He had been right in front of her when Yang Jihu had tried to catch the man who had injured Xian Yi. 3243 Who's the suspect? 2. Feng Wu looked at Elder Mu indifferently. Who taught you how to draw inscriptions? Elder Mu stared at Feng Wu. What do you mean? Feng Wu waved the token in front of Elder Mu and asked again, Who taught you inscriptions? This time, Feng Wu's tone was more serious, and her eyes were cold. Elder Mu's heart skipped a beat, and he felt intimidated. He couldn't understand it. He was stronger than Feng Wu and had a higher status than her, but he still felt like a subordinate around her. Elder Mu said, Master Duanmu taught me. Feng Wu asked, Master Duanmu? As in Master Duanmu from the Magical Equipment Division? Elder Mu said, Yes. Feng Wu asked, Does he have any other disciples? Elder Mu said, Yes, they're all in the Magical Equipment Division. He suddenly looked up and stared at Feng Wu. Are you suspecting my master? That's impossible. Elder Mu immediately became agitated. My master is the most powerful inscription master. He's the person who has the highest chance of developing a flying fighter jet. His attainments in inscriptions are one of the best in the entire Junwo Empire and even in all of Peace Grassland. He doesn't care about that inscription propeller. That's pure slander. Elder Mu's expression was very ugly. Feng Wu wasn't affected by his attitude. She simply said, So, did you try to take the inscription propeller because you wanted to give it to your master? Elder Mu said, Well. Feng Wu asked, So, does he really not care about this inscription propeller? Elder Mu said, Anyway, my master's status is very high. He would never do such a thing. Don't make random accusations. Feng Wu said, You can go. Elder Mu said what? Now that Feng Wu had asked him to leave, he felt uneasy. He looked at Feng Wu anxiously. What did she mean? Feng Wu gave Yang Jihu, Feng Sun and Xian Yi a look. What happened was quicker than words could describe. The three of them swarmed forward and instantly restrained Elder Mu. Everything happened too quickly. In the blink of an eye, Elder Mu had already lost his freedom and was forcefully restrained. Elder Mu stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. What are you doing? Elder Yen looked at Feng Wu in shock as well. He had never seen a colonel dare to attack a captain general. Moreover, this colonel had actually succeeded. Feng Wu said to Elder Yen, We don't have much time. Sorry about this. Elder Yen looked at Feng Wu in astonishment. Feng Wu, what do you mean? Feng Wu didn't explain what was going on, but she apologized to Elder Yen earnestly. I'll apologize to you in person after this is over. Elder Yen wanted to resist, but how could he? Behind Feng Wu were several elders from the Elder Council. If he tried to escape, he would be considered a traitor. Elder Yen was in a terrible mood. He didn't even know what had happened. In the end, Elder Yen and Elder Mu were locked up in the disciplinary hall. at the entrance of the two cells, for elders sat cross-legged and wouldn't allow anyone to approach. Feng Wu told Elder Dongfang about it herself. Elder Dongfang glared at Feng Wu. "How dare you?" Feng Wu smirked. "Elder Mu must be locked up because he has a close relationship with the suspect. If word gets out, the military academy will have to take responsibility for it." 3244 South Mountain Magical Equipment Division, 1. Elder Dongfang glared at Feng Wu. "Nonsense." Feng Wu said, "Let's see who the general will believe." Elder Dongfang sneered. "Who do you think you are? Yes, you have a token bestowed by His Majesty. Do you think you're such a big deal?" Feng Wu said, "That's right. I'm quite the big deal. So, not only do I have His Majesty's token, but my father is also the general himself. What do you think? You're green with envy, aren't you? It's something you'll never have." Elder Dongfang was furious with Feng Wu. However, now that things had come to this, she realized how difficult it was to deal with Feng Wu. Elder Dongfang put a hand on her chest. She would never talk to Feng Wu again because it was too frustrating. However, Feng Wu picked up a chair, sat down in front of Elder Dongfang, and gave the latter a sidelong glance. "I need a note." "What note?" Elder Dongfang frowned. Feng Wu said, "Mr. Su is in charge of the Magical Equipment Division. Since he's not here, you're in charge of the department. I need to get inside now, so write me a note." Elder Dongfang was dumbfounded. She hadn't expected to hear such a straightforward request. "Are you begging me?" Elder Dongfang was instantly delighted. Feng Wu smiled at her. "I suspect there's a spy in the military academy. What do you think will happen when Mr. Su comes back?" Elder Dongfang didn't believe her, but Feng Wu smirked. "Of course, you don't believe me because you don't know anything about inscriptions, but the general does. When I tell him, who do you think he'll blame?" What could Elder Dongfang do? She knew how eloquent and sharp-tongued this young lady was. All right. I can give you a note to join the Magical Equipment Division as a newly recruited inscription master, but Elder Dongfang deliberately made things difficult for Feng Wu. "But you won't have a high rank." Feng Wu said, "I can live with that." At this moment, she still didn't know how vengeful Elder Dongfang was. When Feng Wu took a closer look at the stamped note, "A junior inscription apprentice." Feng Wu asked, "What does that mean?" Elder Dongfang raised her eyebrows smugly. "Aren't you fine with not having a high status? Plus, the lower your status, the less attention you'll attract, right?" Feng Wu gave Elder Dongfang a half-smile. "Fine. I'm going now." Elder Dongfang didn't say anything else. She walked Feng Wu to the foot of the mountain. She stopped and turned to Feng Wu. "Anyone who goes in must be blindfolded." Feng Wu asked, "Doesn't that apply to you as well?" Elder Dongfang said, "I have the authority to know where the Magical Equipment Division is, but you don't." Feng Wu said grumpily, "Fine. You know the location of the Magical Equipment Division. What's there to be proud of?" Elder Dongfang said, "The Dongsang Kingdom has been looking for the division's location, trying to bomb it. Shouldn't I be proud of having that knowledge?" Feng Wu smiled. "If the Magical Equipment Division really gets bombed, Elder Dongfang, you'll be the first suspect." Feng Wu's words infuriated Elder Dongfang. She took out a black cloth from her pocket and pulled Feng Wu over. The thick black cloth, which was 4 fingers wide, completely covered Feng Wu's eyes. Feng Wu didn't know what the cloth was made of, but she couldn't see anything at all. In fact, she couldn't even see any light. Elder Dongfang dragged Feng Wu deeper into South Mountain. She was very vindictive. 3245 South Mountain Magical Equipment Division, 2. Elder Dongfang was still very vengeful. Her grip on Feng Wu's hand was so strong that it hurt. Worst of all, she led Feng Wu around South Mountain and kept walking in circles. One moment they were on the right route, but the next moment, it was the wrong one. Sometimes she would follow the right path, and other times, she deliberately deviated from it. After walking for 4 hours, she finally led Feng Wu to a huge rock. The rocks seemed time-worn, and rain had turned the surface as smooth as a mirror. Feng Wu heard Elder Dongfang speak a series of strange words. The pronunciation of this language was very strange, and there was no pattern to it. Furthermore, the speech lasted for a full minute. No ordinary person would be able to remember it. Even Feng Wu couldn't remember it. However, never in Elder Dongfang's wildest dreams would she have thought Feng Wu would activate the spiritual fossil stone when she was reciting the password. The spiritual fossil stone could record both image and sound. If Elder Dongfang found out about it, she would want to kill Feng Wu. Elder Dongfang gave Feng Wu a smug look as soon as she finished speaking, feeling rather superior. In fact, even she herself didn't know why she still had to argue with Feng Wu when she was a senior member and in charge of the military academy. Perhaps it was because this girl was too infuriating. About 5 minutes after Elder Dongfang finished reciting the complicated and difficult password, there was a cracking sound. It was as if a heavy door was being opened. Feng Wu wasn't in a hurry. That was because she had actually been recording with the spiritual fossil stone the entire time. Elder Dongfang pushed Feng Wu forward and said in a cold voice, "Here's the new inscription master. Put her on the Imperial College team." The person who opened the door was obviously a perceptive one. As soon as Elder Dongfang mentioned the Imperial College team, the person inside smiled coldly. "Sure." Elder Dongfang said to Feng Wu, "Work hard there. It'll be hard for you to get out from now on." With that, Elder Dongfang turned around and left smugly. The middle-aged woman with a hoarse voice dragged Feng Wu inside. Crack. The opened door closed again. "What level are you at now?" The middle-aged woman's voice was cold, and she wasn't very nice to Feng Wu. Feng Wu said, "Level 8. The middle-aged woman smacked Feng Wu on the head. "Level 8 my ass. In the magical equipment division, braggarts die fast. Understood?" Ouch! Not only then did Feng Wu remember she had come in as a junior inscription master, and her goal was to catch the spy who had stolen her inscription propeller. Rubbing her head, Feng Wu said grumpily, "Can I take this off my eyes now?" The middle-aged woman then realized she had forgotten about the cloth. After entering the magical equipment division, Feng Wu no longer needed to be blindfolded. The blindfold was to prevent others from revealing the location and attracting unnecessary attacks. Sure. The middle-aged woman had a sharp tongue but a soft heart. She still respected inscription masters, so she ripped the black cloth off Feng Wu's eyes. Feng Wu finally saw the light again. Rubbing her eyes, she gradually got used to the orange light and looked around. This was a passageway that only allowed 2 people to pass through side by side. There seemed to be no end to this passageway. There was a small hole every few meters on the walls on both sides, and there was a lamp hanging from each small hole. 3246 I want to go inside. There were small holes in the walls and wall lamps hung from them. The oil in the wall lamps seemed to be whale oil. It had a unique fragrance, and the flame was stable. Feng Wu looked to her side. Next to her was a plump old woman who looked fierce and unapproachable. She looked at Feng Wu in surprise. "You're really a handsome and lively girl." The plump woman was quite fierce at first, but when she saw how lovely Feng Wu was, she couldn't use the same tone anymore. Her tone couldn't help but soften. Feng Wu asked, "What's your name?" Seeing Feng Wu's sparkling eyes, the plump woman couldn't help but feel she was talking to an angel. "What an adorable girl." The woman softened her tone and said proudly, "Others call me Auntie Ching. I'm in charge of logistics here. All inscription masters are under the management of my logistics team." "Nice to meet you, Auntie Ching." Feng Wu's voice was sweet and soft, which was very pleasing to the ear. As expected, Auntie Ching's attitude changed. She asked Feng Wu curiously, "Did you offend Elder Dongfang?" Feng Wu asked, "How do you know?" Seeing that she had guessed correctly, Auntie Ching was extremely pleased with herself. She said proudly, "What's so hard to guess? Every time Elder Dongfang sends someone over, if she thinks highly of them, she'll send them to the military academy team. If she doesn't like them, she'll send them to the Imperial College team." I've always been the one to receive them. How can I not know? Feng Wu's eyes lit up. In charge of logistics? Then Auntie Ching must have seen a lot of people. Feng Wu knew she would definitely find out a lot of things from Auntie Ching. However, there was no hurry. The most important thing now was to figure out the structure of the magical equipment division. Logically speaking, Elder Dongfang should have told her about the situation in the magical equipment division along the way. However, Elder Dongfang wasn't a generous person. Feng Wu was lucky to get here without any injuries, let alone obtain any information from Elder Dongfang. Hence, when Feng Wu asked Auntie Ching, the latter's eyes widened. Did you offend Elder Dongfang that badly? Feng Wu could tell at a glance that Auntie Ching was a straightforward person and didn't like pretentious girls. She rubbed her nose and said, Elder Dongfang has a niece. I made her vomit blood, so, ahem. As expected. Auntie Ching burst into laughter. Dongfang's Yun has always been so pretentious because she's a supreme-level medicine refiner. I didn't expect you to make her vomit blood. Good girl. I like you. Feng Wu looked at Auntie Ching curiously. Aren't you afraid of offending Elder Dongfang? Auntie Ching said, Offend her? She wouldn't dare offend me. If she makes me unhappy, I'll assign the person she values to the Imperial College team. She'll be furious. Feng Wu knew Auntie Ching must be more than just a logistics worker. She even dared to offend Elder Dongfang. She asked, You keep talking about the military academy team and the Imperial College team. What's the difference? Auntie Ching said proudly, There's a big difference. Let me tell you, if you want to have a bright future, it's best if you join the military academy team. After you join this team, you may be lucky enough to cozy up to Master Duanmu and enter his team. Your military rank will definitely soar. 3247 Clever Girl, 1. Feng Wu's eyes lit up when she heard what Auntie Ching said. Can I get in? We'll have to ask. The more Auntie Ching looked at Feng Wu, the more she liked the girl. Hence, she led Feng Wu to the military academy team. If you're going to join one of the teams, it's definitely going to be the military academy team. Auntie Ching muttered to herself as she walked, You have to know the military academy is in charge of the magical equipment division. If you join the Imperial College team, you'll be bullied. Auntie Ching then led Feng Wu to a huge building. This was a hollowed-out cave. It was nearly 10 meters tall and occupied an area of thousands of square meters. It was separated into sealed spaces. A path in the middle divided the cave into two sections. The area on the left was very small and only took up a quarter of the cave, while the area on the right was 3 times as big. There were doors on either side, and the two sides faced each other. Auntie Ching took Feng Wu to the military academy's side first. When the guards saw Auntie Ching bring someone over, he asked, Is that the inscription master recruited from the common people? Before Auntie Ching could say yes, a cold voice cut her off. A civilian? I don't think so. Isn't that right, Feng Wu? An old acquaintance. Turning around, Feng Wu found the man familiar. Upon closer inspection, Feng Wu realized she was looking at an elder from the military academy. She had only glanced at him from afar but hadn't paid much attention to him. Elder Wu. Auntie Ching was surprised to see that Feng Wu had been recognized. Clasping his hands behind his back, Elder Wu strolled out and stared at Feng Wu. Aren't you from Imperial College? Feng Wu recalled Elder Wu had only met her once, and then she didn't see him when she shared the all-purpose transformation liquid. Elder Wu probably was already away from the fortress then. In other words, Elder Wu didn't know about the group breakthrough in Imperial College, nor did he know about Feng Wu's relationship with the general. In his eyes, she was just a girl who was in a scandal with Jun Linyuan. That was even better. Otherwise, if he knew too much about Feng Wu, it would be difficult for her to take action. I'm from Imperial College, Feng Wu admitted in resignation. The shortcut she wanted to take was completely blocked. Auntie Ching looked at Feng Wu in resignation and told her in a low voice, Elder Wu is in charge of the military academy team in the magical equipment division. At this moment, Elder Wu had already started to blame Auntie Ching. Why did you bring her here? Auntie Ching glanced at Elder Wu and was about to speak. Unexpectedly, Feng Wu beat her to it. I asked Auntie Ching to show me around. Is no one allowed to hang out outside the military academy? Do you own this place? Auntie Ching looked at Feng Wu in admiration. Although Elder Wu couldn't do anything to her, this girl had volunteered to take the blame. Auntie Ching felt Feng Wu had a sense of propriety and was really likable. Elder Wu darted a look at Feng Wu and warned her, "This is the magical equipment division. You better stay put, or no one will back you up. I'm sure the Crown Prince won't break the rules here because of you." The Crown Prince? Auntie Ching's eyes lit up. Holding Feng Wu's hand, she asked curiously, "You know the Crown Prince? Are you that close to him?" Elder Wu felt a headache coming on. He glared at Auntie Ching and said, "How many people do you think the Crown Prince has connections with? Do you think any Tom, Dick, or Harry can be associated with the Crown Prince?" 3248 Clever Girl 2. Feng Wu didn't know what Auntie Ching's background was, but the woman wasn't afraid of Elder Wu at all. She retorted, "Old Wu, what are you talking about? Xiao Wu is so pretty. It's only natural that the Crown Prince likes her. You don't know anything." Feng Wu gave Auntie Ching a surprised look and gave her a thumbs up. Auntie Ching raised her chin proudly. That old man wasn't the only one who could raise his voice. Elder Wu glared at Auntie Ching and was so angry that his beard shook. However, for some reason he didn't flare up in the end. He only glared at Feng Wu and left. Feng Wu was speechless. Why was she the one being glared at? Did Elder Wu specialize in picking on an easy target? But before Feng Wu could say anything, Elder Wu had already left. Meanwhile, Auntie Ching snorted. "Old Wu is such a troublemaker." She looked at Feng Wu apologetically. "Xiao Wu, you've been discovered by Old Wu. I really can't put you in the military academy team now." Feng Wu told her it was fine. Auntie Ching took Feng Wu's hand. "Come on. Let's go to the Imperial College section. I'll take you to their supervisor and tell them to take good care of you." She explained to Feng Wu as they walked. "The person in charge is the head of the Magical Equipment Division. He's in seclusion now, so you won't be able to see him for the time being. The second in command is the Deputy Minister. He's also in charge of the Military Academy, and he's Old Wu, the man you saw just now. The third in command, normally he should be the person in charge of Imperial College, but for some unknown reason, that position has been given to Master Duanmu. Although Master Duanmu is the third in command, his status is extraordinary. Even the ministers don't dare to offend him. Master Duanmu can directly talk to Mr. Su and even the general. The next one in the command chain is finally from Imperial College. His name is Wang Zhiheng. He used to be Master Duanmu's junior brother, but for some reason, the two of them don't have a good relationship now." Auntie Ching was telling Feng Wu all the secrets of the Magical Equipment Division. She had a good impression of Feng Wu. If she didn't have a good impression of Feng Wu, she could just throw the latter into the team after bringing her over. No explanation was needed. As Auntie Ching spoke, Feng Wu listened. Auntie Ching was in high spirits, and Feng Wu listened attentively. It was a harmonious conversation. Auntie Ching suddenly asked Feng Wu, "Do you know how the Magical Equipment Division works?" Feng Wu asked, "What? How?" Auntie Ching said, "Didn't you ask around before you came in? You really don't know anything?" Feng Wu put on an innocent face. Auntie Ching sighed. "You foolish girl. Why is Elder Dongfang so petty? Why is she so calculative with a child? Why is she even angry with you? She's too old to behave that way." Auntie Ching told Feng Wu, "There are dozens of teams here. The higher-ups give out missions, and the teams take them on. We have several modes here. The most common one is the inscription workshop where the master takes in junior apprentices." Auntie Ching led Feng Wu into Imperial College's section. As they walked, she pointed at the separated spaces around them and said to Feng Wu, "Look, some of these rooms are big and some are small. The ones near the door are the biggest, and the further in you go, the smaller the rooms." 3249 Clever Girl 3. Look at this workshop. It says, Yang's Workshop. In other words, this inscription master's surname is Yang. I know Master Yang. He's at level 7 and his disciples are levels 4 and 5. Master Yang has his own apprentices. He's doing well because he's only responsible for producing blueprints. His apprentices do the carving and coloring. Look over here. Auntie Ching led Feng Wu to an open area at the back. There were domed cubicles here with no ceilings, just like modern office cubicles. Auntie Ching pointed at them and said, most of these inscription masters are at level 5. They are unwilling to be apprentices, or they can't find a teacher who's willing to teach them. They'll accept orders here in their own names. But they work very slowly. It can take them at least a month to produce a few low-level inscription weapons. Feng Wu said, that's not so efficient. Auntie Ching said, their pay isn't high either. It starts at 30 per 1,000 words. Feng Wu asked, 30? What? Auntie Ching, 30 essence crystals for 1,000 words. Feng Wu said, the essence crystals are quite easy to earn. No, they're not. Auntie Ching was amused by Feng Wu. They're so inefficient that they're lucky if they can make enough to survive. As long as they can make breakthroughs and inscribe higher-level inscriptions, however, their income will skyrocket. Feng Wu asked, really? Feng Wu saw that they looked like they were inscribing on grains of rice. Every inscription was extremely difficult, and no mistakes were allowed. This was how inscriptions worked. If there was even the slightest mistake, the inscriber would have to start over. Auntie Ching told Feng Wu, do you remember Master Yang just now? He can get 300 essence crystals for every 1,000 words. However, he has 2 apprentices under him, so he doesn't really have much left. Let's go. I'll introduce you to the person in charge of Imperial College, Master Wang Jing. He can get 1,000 essence crystals per 1,000 words. Feng Wu asked, is he a level 8 inscription master? Auntie Ching said, yes, he's a level 8 inscription master. Master Duanmu across the hall is Master Wang's senior brother, and he can get this much. Auntie Ching gestured at Feng Wu as she spoke. Feng Wu hissed, that high? Auntie Ching said, of course. Master Duanmu is really capable. He's efficient and does good work. Of course, that was in the past. Feng Wu asked, what about now? Right now, Auntie Ching was about to say something when they arrived at Wang Zhiheng's workshop. Auntie Ching stopped talking right away and told Feng Wu, don't mention Master Duanmu in front of him, or there will be consequences. Feng Wu nodded. Speaking of which, Master Wang has a buddy named Yang Jihu in the fortress. Have you met him? Auntie Ching asked. They're very close and have become sworn brothers. If you know Yang Jihu, Master Wang will be much closer to you. Feng Wu's eyes lit up. Yang Jihu? He's my teacher. Auntie Ching looked at Feng Wu in surprise. Really? Feng Wu said, it's true. I'm from the colonel's quarters. Auntie Ching sized up Feng Wu from head to toe. I didn't know you're so good at cultivation. Feng Wu chuckled. Auntie Ching took Feng Wu to Wang Zhiheng's workshop and introduced her to the master, telling him that Feng Wu was Yang Jihu's student. As expected, Master Wang looked at Feng Wu a lot more kindly. 3250 Clever Girl 4. Before Auntie Ching left, she had told Feng Wu that if anyone dared to bully her, she could go to the logistics department. Auntie Ching wouldn't give that person anything to eat. Feng Wu thanked Auntie Ching with a smile. After Auntie Ching left, Feng Wu asked Master Wang curiously, what's Auntie Ching's background? I don't think Elder Wu can do anything to her. Wang Zhiheng didn't know Feng Wu very well, but he couldn't resist how familiarly Feng Wu was acting. Before he knew it, he was already talking to Feng Wu as if she was an equal. Master Wang asked, don't you know? Feng Wu said, no, I don't. Master Wang said, didn't she take good care of you? I thought you knew each other well. Feng Wu said, no, I just came in today. It's Auntie Ching's first time seeing me. As for why she took care of me, maybe that's because I'm so adorable. Master Wang didn't know what to say. He had to admit that the girl in front of him was indeed adorable. Just looking at her made one feel good, like a room filled with sunlight. The girl might as well be called Little Sunshine. Maybe some girls are meant to be liked by everybody, thought Master Wang. Do you know that the Magical Equipment Division has a minister? Master Wang asked. Feng Wu said, I do. I heard he's in seclusion right now. Master Wang said, the minister's surname is Qing. Feng Wu chuckled. Auntie Qing is actually Mrs. Qing then? Master Wang nodded. Feng Wu said, she doesn't look the part at all. The Magical Equipment Division's minister was under Mr. Su's direct command. He was on the same level as Elder Dongfang and Elder Helian. However, Auntie Qing was an ordinary-looking woman. She was plump and fierce, but could she be the minister's wife? Feng Wu couldn't believe it. Master Wang told Feng Wu, it's a complicated story. You can ask Auntie Qing. He didn't spread gossip. Feng Wu nodded. Even Master Wang didn't realize that after this brief interlude, he and Feng Wu became much closer. They didn't feel like strangers anymore. After all, he was the person in charge of the Imperial College team and Yang Jihu's buddy. Feng Wu had to befriend him. Master Wang asked Feng Wu, what's your level? Feng Wu said honestly, level 8. Master Wang frowned. Tell me the truth. Feng Wu was truly frustrated. She had always told the truth, but everyone thought she was bragging. Life was so difficult. She said earnestly, I'm telling the truth. Master Wang's expressions immediately turned ugly. He had a good impression of Feng Wu. He had thought she was a pretty girl with sparkling eyes, but he hadn't expected her to be so pompous. Since she was Yang Jihu's student, Wang Jiheng felt he had to discipline her. Just then, there was knocking on the door outside. Master Wang said, come in. It was Master Yang's apprentice, Mo Ziming. Master. Mo Ziming didn't even look at Feng Wu when he walked in. He took out a board full of words and asked Master Wang, I can't activate the inscriptions on this board. I've checked it 10 times, but it still won't work. Mo Ziming frowned in confusion. Mo Ziming's inscriptions had to be engraved on a formation. It had to be accurate. 3251 Clever Girl, 5. Master Wang didn't have time to teach the proud Feng Wu a lesson. He decided to solve the problem for his disciple first. He took the wooden board and checked each word in turn. He frowned because he couldn't find any problems. He wouldn't give up. Taking a magnifying glass from the side, he looked down the board word by word. He went through it from beginning to end but still couldn't find what was wrong. Rubbing his forehead, he said to Mo Ziming, leave it here for now. I want to study it properly. Mo Ziming nodded. When he went down, he saw someone out of the corner of his eye and subconsciously turned his head. Study gasped when he saw Feng Wu. This girl looked like she had walked out of a painting. In an instant, Mo Ziming was stunned and forgot to move. I wonder if this beautiful young lady is engaged yet, Mo Ziming thought to himself. He was a level 7 inscription master and a young man with a promising future. He was the only son in his family, which was flourishing. Just then, Master Wang said to Mo Ziming without looking up, take Feng Wu away and have her work next to you. Teach her slowly. After thinking for a moment, Master Wang added, her foundation is rather shaky, and she's a little vain. Teach her well. Feng Wu was speechless. She was going to ask him why her foundation was weak and why he thought she was vain. She felt so wronged. Master Wang. Feng Wu was about to defend herself, when Mo Ziming walked up to her and said, Miss Feng Wu, Master Wang is studying the inscriptions on the board. Come with me. I'll show you around. She indeed had to get familiar with the environment. Seeing that Master Wang was immersed in the inscription board, Feng Wu sighed and said to Mo Ziming, thank you, Brother Mo. You're welcome, Miss Wu. Mo Ziming was excited to be able to get close to the beautiful girl. How could he feel tired or impatient? When he took Feng Wu away, Feng Wu turned around and glanced at Master Wang. She had wanted to tell him what was wrong with the inscriptions on the board, But since Master Wang said that her level of inscriptions was too low, Feng Wu didn't want to tell him anymore. This is our workshop. Mo Ziming led Feng Wu into the nearest workshop. The space of nearly 100 square meters was divided into 5 sections. In the middle of the 5 sections was a rather large area. A long table was placed in the area for discussion. There were people in every room. Mo Ziming introduced each of the 5 rooms to Feng Wu. I'm Master's eldest disciple, and I'm in room 1. Rooms 2 to 5 are all used by Master's other disciples. The disciples are allocated to the rooms according to seniority. As for you? Mo Ziming looked around and couldn't find an empty room. He smiled wryly at Feng Wu and said, "Why don't you share a room with me? If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me." As for accommodations, Mo Ziming told Feng Wu, "We inscription masters work day and night to engrave inscriptions. We rarely rest. If you're really tired, you can just sleep in the house over there." Mo Ziming pointed to the accommodations section not far away. Feng Wu said, "No, I don't think I'll be here for long. If I need to, I'll just inscribe something in the middle area." If Jun Linyuan found out she had stayed in the same room alone with a man, he would be furious. Wait, Feng Wu thought, why should I care what he thinks? 3252 Clever Girl 6. Mo Ziming tried to persuade Feng Wu. "Xiao Wu, if you sit here, I can teach you." Feng Wu asked, "What's your inscription level?" Mo Ziming was very proud. "Level 7. Feng Wu said, "I see." What was that supposed to mean? Shouldn't she be worshipping him now? Mo Ziming was hurt by Feng Wu's cold expression. Just as he was about to speak, someone came out of room 2. A chubby, kind-looking young man's eyes lit up when he saw Feng Wu. "This is Master's new disciple," Mo Ziming said immediately. Feng Wu shook her head. "I'm not." However, Mo Ziming and his second senior brother didn't listen to Feng Wu at all. They started chatting excitedly. "A new disciple? We finally have a little junior sister. Master finally did the right thing. Instead of finding us a junior brother, he found us a little junior sister." What junior sister?" A person jumped out of room 3. He seemed to be a lively character. He was as thin as a bamboo stick and had sparkling eyes. "Look, here's the junior sister. She's especially beautiful." Both senior brothers were very excited. The third boy's eyes lit up when he saw Feng Wu. Before he could compliment Feng Wu, she said, "I'm not your junior sister." Mo Ziming asked, "Aren't you the junior inscription master who just came in today?" Feng Wu said, "Yes, I am." Mo Ziming said, "Master asked me to bring you back because he has tacitly accepted you. Don't be afraid. Since Master has said so, nothing can change it. You'll stay in our workshop." The other 2 senior brothers came back to their senses and consoled Feng Wu. Feng Wu felt a little embarrassed. Wouldn't it be a little too pretentious for her to mention what her inscription level was now? Moreover, the senior brothers were sincere and enthusiastic, and Feng Wu couldn't resist their kindness. Hence, she could only smile wryly. "Thank you." Feng Wu looked at the last 2 rooms. Mo Ziming's attention was all on Feng Wu's face. Seeing that she was looking inside, he told her, "They haven't completed the task that Master gave them, so they can't come out yet, in case the process is delayed." Feng Wu was curious. "Process? Are you working on different stages of the same assignment?" "Of course," Mo Ziming said proudly, "we're researching the flying fighter jet. We 3 senior brothers here and the 2 in the rooms are the few people in Imperial College who have studied the flying fighter jet the most. Master has been leading us on the flying fighter jet project." The flying fighter jet? Feng Wu didn't expect Master Wang to be researching it, either. Feng Wu said, "I heard Master Duanmu." At the mention of Master Duanmu, Mo Ziming and the other 2 didn't look too happy. Yu Ban, the second disciple, pursed his lips and was a little worried. "Master Duanmu is indeed studying the flying fighter jet as well. I heard he made some progress and seems to be moving faster than us." Dong Qin, the third disciple, frowned. So what if he's a little faster? I don't like Master Duanmu's attitude. He makes his disciples do all the work for him. I don't think he has ambition anymore. Mo Ziming nodded. That's right. I think our master will be the first to figure it out. Just then they heard footsteps outside. 3253 Clever Girl, 7. The footsteps didn't stop and went straight to Master Wang's workshop. They looked at one another doubtfully. Who dared to go straight to their master's workshop? Weren't they afraid of being punished for this? However, they quickly ignored this matter and went back to talking about the fighter jet. Feng Wu asked, "How far are you on the research on the fighter jet?" Mo Ziming rubbed his chin. Although he liked Feng Wu very much, he still wouldn't tell her about such a confidential matter. Feng Wu said grumpily, "Mo Ziming, did the board you give to Master Wang represent the highest level of research you've ever done?" Mo Ziming almost choked. He suddenly had a feeling that the success he was so proud of wasn't worth mentioning. It had to be his imagination, right? Can you understand it? Mo Ziming looked at Feng Wu suspiciously. Before Feng Wu could say anything, she heard the sound of a teacup falling to the ground next door. I'd rather die than ask for his help. Doesn't he know what he did? Feng Wu and the others jumped at the sudden noise and rushed next door. Before they got there, the voice came again. No one knew what the other party said, but Master Wang was furious. He roared, "I remember the bet we made 3 years ago. Do I need you to remind me? Go back and tell him I'll die before begging him for mercy. Get lost." There was a furious roar, then something heavy fell to the ground. Feng Wu was about to go to Master Wang's workshop when Mo Ziming stopped her at the door. Mo Ziming's originally relaxed expression was now unprecedentedly serious. There was grievance, pain, anger. All kinds of emotions were jumbled together on his face. Feng Wu looked back and saw that the young men from rooms 4 and 5 had come out as well. They looked indignant. Everyone seemed to be furious. At that moment, the footsteps that had passed by them came out of Master Wang's room. It was a group of 5 people. The leader of the group wasn't bad-looking, but the smugness on his face ruined his looks, making him look unpleasant. The 4 people behind him all had their chins raised arrogantly. When they saw Feng Wu and the 5 disciples outside their rooms, the group leader laughed. "I was wondering who it was. Aren't you Master Wang's disciples?" The arrogant man glanced at Mo Ziming disdainfully. "As Master Wang's eldest disciple, what level are your inscriptions at now?" Mo Ziming clenched his fists, and his bloodshot eyes were filled with extreme anger. Seeing that Mo Ziming wouldn't answer, he said, "I heard you're still at level 7. The man even approached Mo Ziming and straightened the latter's collar. "Guess what? I'm at level 8 already. I can't understand why they used to call you a genius. You're as foolish as your master." The man wanted to leave after that. Blue veins popped on Mo Ziming's forehead. He raised his hands, but that man quickly suppressed him. "You're a much worse inscription master than me. You won't stand a chance." 3254 Tell you who I am. One. The person looked at Mo Ziming with a smile. "Mo Ziming, your master is only at level 8. Would you like to become my disciple?" Mo Ziming was so angry that he wanted to retaliate, but his strength was inferior to the other man's. The man left with a smug look on his face. Mo Ziming was so furious that he was shaking. Feng Wu frowned. "Who was that? Why is he so pompous?" Yu Ban said grimly, "He's Ji Ying, Master Duanmu's first disciple, and he's just as pompous as his master." By then, Mo Ziming had run off, and no one knew where he went. Feng Wu looked at Yu Ban. Yu Ban shrugged. Mo Ziming and Ji Ying are cousins, and they've been holding grudges against each other since they were little. That explained why Mo Ziming was so angry when Ji Ying wanted to become his master. While Yu Ban and the others returned to their rooms, Feng Wu headed for Master Wang's workshop. She knocked on the door, but no one answered. The door wasn't locked, so Feng Wu stuck her head inside. She was slightly surprised when she saw Master Wang angrily studying that inscription board. She didn't expect that in such a situation, he still wanted to study inscriptions. She quietly walked up to Master Wang and stood a short distance behind him. The 25th symbol in the third line is wrong, Feng Wu calmly reminded him. When Master Wang turned around and saw her, he simply ignored her. Lowering his head, he continued to study each character with a magnifying glass. However, Feng Wu's words kept replaying in his mind. The 25th symbol in the third line. He couldn't help but look at that symbol. The symbols were complicated and difficult to distinguish, and it took him a while to find that specific symbol. However, he would be lying if he said he wasn't curious. Master Wang searched carefully and found the symbol. Nothing is out of place, thought Master Wang. He soon smiled bitterly. What was wrong with him? He actually thought the girl could figure something out. He suddenly spotted something when he was about to look away. Wait, the symbol just now did seem a little awkward. Master Wang's gaze shifted to the board again. When he looked at it again from beginning to end, his eyes suddenly lit up. Oh God! This symbol really is the problem. It shouldn't be used here. I should use the symbol that's synonymous with it. If I use it here, the grammar is wrong. Master Wang was thrilled. He picked up another board and carefully engraved each symbol in turn. He soon finished the new board. He didn't know why the inscriptions were so effective, but when they were finally activated, Master Wang's eyes lit up. He turned around to find Feng Wu smiling at him. Master Wang immediately asked, "How did you know that the symbol was wrong? That couldn't have been a wild guess. Who told you that?" He stared at Feng Wu in suspicion. Feng Wu shrugged. "Do you think Master Duanwu sent me here?" 3255 Tell you who I am, too. For a moment, Master Wang thought about that possibility. Feng Wu looked at him in resignation. "Then you really think too little of me. Do you think Duanwu can order me around?" Master Wang stared at Feng Wu with unblinking eyes, as if he wanted to pierce through her with his gaze. Unfortunately, Feng Wu was much more resilient than the others, and Master Wang eventually lost the staring competition. Feng Wu said, "Who am I? I'm a level 6 spiritual king, a level 8 inscription master, a level 8 formation master, a semi-divine medicine refiner, Jun Lin Yuan's buddy, young Lord Feng's sister, the general's goddaughter, and little Phoenix's master." She left out the part where she was Mu Jiuzhou's disciple. She had obviously borrowed this sort of character narration from a TV series she watched before. That character was the best. Feng Wu decided to add more titles to herself in the future. That sounded so cool. However, her existing titles had already befuddled Master Wang. He stared at Feng Wu in bewilderment and didn't say anything for a long time. Eventually, he heaved a long sigh. Why should he bicker with a little girl? Isn't it normal for a little girl to like to brag? Are you really a level 8 inscription master? That was what bothered Master Wang. Feng Wu said, "I am." Master Wang said, "I'll believe you if you can recreate the inscriptions on this board." Feng Wu said, "Sure." She took her phoenix pen and a blank board, then started writing the inscriptions. Each stroke left a deep indentation on the board. It was more like carving than writing. In less than 10 minutes, she finished writing the inscriptions. Instead of handing the board to Master Wang, she activated the inscriptions right away. The board was in the shape of a propeller. Master Wang's research was on inscription propellers that could make fighter jets fly. Seeing the inscription propeller move like a windmill, Master Wang looked up at Feng Wu in surprise and didn't say anything for a long time. The girl wasn't lying. She was indeed a level 8 inscription master. She was probably even better than that because she was much faster than he was. Moreover, she could carve it with her pen, which was incredible. Master Wang stared at Feng Wu. "Have you studied fighter jets before?" Feng Wu nodded. "I studied one for half a day." Master Wang didn't know what to say. Her half-day-long research was more effective than his years of research. What could he say? Complimenting her would make him feel like a failure. Master Wang gave Feng Wu a complicated look. "You've learned so much after half a day of research." Feng Wu shrugged. "What a pity. If I had half a day more, I might have solved the second half of the inscriptions and formations. Master Wang asked, the second half? Are you saying you've already figured out the first half? The inscriptions and formations on a propeller were so intricate and complicated. Master Wang had only studied less than 1/10 of it, but this girl, that wasn't possible. He wouldn't believe it. In the end, Feng Wu took out the board in front of Master Wang and started drawing inscriptions on it. Feng Wu analyzed the inscriptions and formations and showed them to Master Wang. She drew one formation after another and only stopped after she drew 10 of them. Master Wang looked at Feng Wu's exquisite inscriptions and asked in a hoarse voice, "What's this?" 3256 The rest of the formations. Feng Wu said, "Didn't I just say I analyzed the first half of the inscription propeller? I figured out the complicated patterns on it and came up with these 10 drawings of inscriptions and formations. There are 10 layers in total and each layer is on top of the next. Together, they form a large inscription formation. The Dongsang Kingdom is really, I have to say, their technology is indeed advanced." Master Wang looked at Feng Wu in shock. "Are these formations real?" Feng Wu said matter-of-factly, "Of course they're real." Master Wang asked, "How can you be sure?" Feng Wu said, "Why can't I be sure? I took the inscription propeller off the fighter jet and analyzed the spiritual formations on it. When I reached the 10th layer, I had something to do and went out. When I came back, the fighter jet was gone." Master Wang was so shocked that he didn't say anything for a long time. Finally, he realized what was going on. "Wait, a fighter jet? You have a complete fighter jet? Where did you get it?" Feng Wu shrugged. "I told you already. I'm very capable. A complete fighter jet isn't a problem." When Master Wang thought about Feng Wu's quirky behavior, he realized the girl did have good fortune that others didn't. It was understandable that she had a fighter jet, but your fighter jet? It was stolen. Feng Wu shrugged and told Master Wang her suspicion. Master Wang narrowed his eyes. "A spy from the Dongsang Kingdom?" Feng Wu said, "I suspect someone has snuck in. I can live with losing the fighter jet, but we have to uncover this spy, or the entire magical equipment division will be exposed at any moment." Master Wang fell into deep thought for a long time. After all, he had only just met Feng Wu, and he wouldn't trust her completely right away. That was why he was still skeptical. Feng Wu shrugged. "It's fine. I'll catch the spy myself. I have a plan." Since Feng Wu had a solution, Master Wang turned his attention back to the inscription propeller. He stared at the 10 drawings on the table. "So, are all of them real?" Feng Wu said, "Every part of it." Master Wang asked, "So, you've already reached the 10th layer of the inscription propeller?" Feng Wu said, "You can say that." Master Wang asked, "If I give you the inscription propeller, are you confident that you can analyze the remaining formations?" Feng Wu said, "It shouldn't be a problem." Master Wang rose to his feet and paced around the room. He circled the huge workshop over and over again. Feng Wu looked at him curiously. Master Wang couldn't make up his mind, so he told Feng Wu, "I'd like to have some time on my own." Feng Wu noticed that Master Wang was staring at the 10 drawings. She realized he must want to confirm their authenticity. Feng Wu nodded and left the room. After Feng Wu left, Master Wang returned to his seat as fast as lightning. He was even faster than a young man. He held a magnifying glass in his right hand and examined the inscriptions word by word. His other hand covered the remaining part. As he read, he deduced and calculated and would only refer to the remaining part after he calculated the next step. 3257 Xiao Wu, you're amazing. The more he read, the more astonished he became. He didn't dare to be too greedy and study all 10 drawings at once, so he only examined the first one. However, he was astonished after examining the first one. Everything was correct. There was no mistake. He was amazed. He then moved on to the second drawing. Suddenly, he felt the fog in his head lift, and everything felt clearer. OMG! Master Wang was shocked to discover that his level of inscriptions seemed to have unknowingly entered a new realm during the process of studying the drawings. He seemed to have reached level 9. Holy crap! Master Wang couldn't believe it. He took out a board and started carving and soon finished a brand new one. Suddenly, Master Wang's heart skipped a beat. If he was only at level 9 now, Feng Wu had drawn 10 drawings in the blink of an eye. Wasn't her level even higher? She was being modest when she said she was at level 8. However, he wouldn't believe her and thought she was bragging. Master Wang rubbed his forehead in embarrassment. It wasn't that he didn't want to believe her, but that she was too beautiful to be a level 8 inscription master. Master Wang thought of something else. When she introduced herself earlier, could the series of titles all be true? He couldn't think about it. If that were true, it would be terrifying. Master Wang put down the drawings and walked straight out the door. After taking a few steps, he suddenly realized something. These drawings were a treasure. Master Wang went back to the desk, carefully folded the drawings, and put them in his chest pocket. However, that still didn't feel safe enough. What if it rained? Hence, Master Wang rummaged through the cabinets again. After some fumbling around, he finally found unused oil paper. He carefully wrapped the drawings in oil paper before placing them in his chest pocket. He then patted his chest to flatten the paper. For a moment, he felt like he owned the entire world. No words in this world could describe how excited he was. And what was Feng Wu doing now? After she came out of Master Wang's workshop, she started her investigation. She hadn't forgotten that her biggest mission in the Magical Equipment Division was to investigate the inscription propeller. Now that Feng Wu was familiar with Auntie Qing, they could talk about other things. Therefore, she went to talk to Auntie Qing. Auntie Qing was very busy. She was in charge of all the logistics. She had to take care of the clothes, food, accommodations, and transportation of all inscription masters. Moreover, she had to provide them with inscription tools and the payment of essence crystals. Auntie Qing was very busy. When Feng Wu went over, she saw Auntie Qing settling the accounts for essence crystals. Seeing that Auntie Qing was in a daze from all the calculations, Feng Wu made a simple calculator out of inscriptions and handed it to her. Aunt Qing didn't think much of it at first, but her eyes lit up when she started using it. This is good stuff. Aunt Qing tugged at Feng Wu's arm in excitement. With this, it'll be much easier to calculate the items. I won't have to worry about making a mistake anymore. I can go through the math with the inscription calculator after calculating it in my head. I won't make any errors again. Xiao Wu, you're amazing. Feng Wu smiled. There were materials nearby. I wouldn't have been able to make it anywhere else. 3258 It's Ji-ing. After giving Auntie Qing some benefits and getting closer to her, Feng Wu would be able to ask more questions. Now was a good time. Feng Wu asked Auntie Qing, why is the Magical Equipment Division so secretive? There aren't many people coming and going every day, are there? Feng Wu and Auntie Qing were the only ones in the room, so they spoke casually, as if they were just chatting. Auntie Qing was happy to have someone beside her. In addition, Feng Wu had done her a huge favor, so Auntie Qing told her everything she knew in return. She was quite a special figure here. Other people had to restrain themselves from talking about certain things, but Auntie Qing didn't. She told Feng Wu, we hardly ever have any visitors. Today is an exception. Feng Wu looked surprised. Wow, what's going on today? Did something good happen? Is that why more people are coming and going? Auntie Qing said, I don't know if anything good happened, but you're definitely my good news. Feng Wu couldn't let Auntie Qing digress. She went back to the original topic. I wonder who is the person who arrived here on the same day as me. Are they going to Imperial College? Auntie Qing smiled. You're the only new inscription master. The other two are old friends. One of them is our deputy minister. Feng Wu asked, Deputy minister? Is that the elder Wu I saw before? Auntie Qing smiled and said, we have two deputy ministers here. One is Elder Wu, who is in charge of handing out assignments. The other one is Mr. He's in charge of our security. Feng Wu said, "What? Mr. Zhao is back today?" Auntie Qing nodded. "Anyway, he often goes back and forth. We're used to it. I remember someone else went out today." Feng Wu looked at Auntie Qing. Auntie Qing slapped her head. "Gosh, why can't I remember?" Feng Wu's stomach lurched. "My dear Auntie Qing, please don't forget at such a critical moment." She looked at Auntie Qing. "Is he an inscription master? Can he go out often? If I know who he is, I can ask him to bring me something." Feng Wu's words sounded casual, but in fact, she was guiding Auntie Qing so that she could remember. It worked. The next moment, Auntie Qing slapped her head. "I remember who it was. It was Jiying." Jiying? Why did that name sound so familiar? Feng Wu felt she had heard that name before. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. Jing? Master Duanmu's eldest disciple? Feng Wu looked at Auntie Qing with sparkling eyes. "You've heard of him too?" Auntie Qing's inquisitive eyes lit up. Jiying is very influential in our magical equipment division. He's a level 8 inscription master and Master Duanmu's first disciple. He has a bright future ahead of him. Are you engaged to anyone? Feng Wu sighed. "Auntie Qing, you're not trying to set me up with him, are you?" What Auntie Qing said surprised Feng Wu. Auntie Qing looked at Feng Wu and said earnestly, "I treat you as one of us, so I'll tell you the truth." Auntie Qing whispered something in Feng Wu's ear. "Huh." Feng Wu looked at Auntie Qing in surprise. She hadn't expected that. Auntie Qing had told her to be wary of Jiying and not to fall for him. Feng Wu smiled wryly. Of course, she wouldn't fall for Jiying, but... Didn't you say Jiying is very popular in the magical equipment division? What? 3259 The past. Didn't you say Jiying is very popular in the magical equipment division? Why? Feng Wu asked curiously. Aunt Qing told her seriously, Jiying is indeed an impressive figure here, and many girls are secretly in love with him, but he's... Listen to me. Don't fall for him. He doesn't have a conscience. Aunt Qing then whispered something in Feng Wu's ear. She cried out and looked at Auntie Qing. How could he do such a thing? Auntie Qing said, right? He's definitely not an ideal candidate. Feng Wu nodded and told Auntie Qing what she had seen at Mo Ziming's place. Auntie Qing laughed coldly. Jiying is taking advantage of his master's reputation. Good for him. He even dares to ridicule Master Wang. Feng Wu said curiously, Master Wang and Master Duanmu seem to have a grudge against each other. Aunt Qing let out a long sigh. This is a story from a long time ago. If you were to ask someone else, they might not be able to tell you. Only the older generation of inscription masters know. These newcomers have no idea. Feng Wu's eyes sparkled as she looked at Auntie Qing. What could Auntie Qing hide from her? She told Feng Wu that while this Master Duanmu was good at inscriptions, he wasn't a good person. Back then, Master Duanmu and Master Wang were fellow disciples. Their master also had a female disciple, and the two young men fell in love with her. However, the girl liked Master Wang. No one knew what Master Duanmu did next, but he forced his junior sister to marry him. She frowned. Did she marry him in the end? She did. Aunt Qing sighed. After they were married, Master Wang left his hometown and never returned. After Master Duanmu finally forced his junior sister to marry him, he didn't treat her well and married another wife. How can she be a wife? Feng Wu frowned. He already has an official wife. Other women can only be concubines, right? Aunt Qing nodded. But Master Duanmu raised that lady's status despite that, giving her the title of Madame Ru. That's the same as making her another wife. Feng Wu nodded. Master Duanmu was clearly unsatisfied with his first wife. And? She had a feeling she was about to hear a melodramatic story. As expected, Aunt Qing told her, later on, Madame Ru became very powerful. She was Master Duanmu's favorite, and he spent all day in his room learning inscriptions. Madame Ru actually tortured the junior sister until the latter became sick. At that time, the junior sister was already pregnant, and the mistreatment caused her to miscarry. Just when she needed to recover from it, Madame Ru deliberately created an accident and made her fall into the stream. It was winter at that time. She asked, "Did Master Duanmu know about this?" Auntie Qing slammed the table angrily. "Is he dead? He's a living person. His wife was tortured to this extent in front of him, and he wasn't blind. He must know, but he just acquiesced." Feng Wu frowned. "That's worse than killing her. Master Duanmu went too far." Auntie Qing said, "He was taking revenge because she was in love with Master Wang before they were married. Any girl can fall in love with one or two talented young men before they get married. Right, Xiao Wu?" 3260 Madame Ru. Ahem. Feng Wu didn't know how to answer her. Auntie Qing went back to the topic. Anyway, when Master Wang came back to visit his junior sister, he saw her on her last breath. She used to be such a fair and tender girl who had never done any housework. When they met again, she had been tortured into an old woman with rough fingers and a withered face. She wasn't even 30 years old. As Auntie Qing spoke, her eyes filled with tears. Madame Ru was the same age as the junior sister, but she was still bright, beautiful and delicate, looking as fresh as a 16-year-old girl. Why do good people die in vain, but evil lives for 1,000 years? Feng Wu nodded. That's how the world works. The good guys get bullied, and the bad guys get to enjoy themselves. Auntie Qing looked at the girl in astonishment. She didn't expect Feng Wu to be so understanding. Feng Wu smiled. But good and evil will always be paid back. It's only a matter of time. Auntie Qing exhaled. I hope you're right. Feng Wu was confident of her verdict. For example, Master Duanmu had already annoyed her, and his life would become quite unpleasant. Feng Wu then asked, "Where's Madame Ru? Is she still alive?" Auntie Qing sneered. "Of course she's still alive. She even wants to compete with me for the position of logistics officer. My husband is the minister. She must be dreaming." Feng Wu chuckled. Auntie Qing continued, "By the way, she's Lady Duanmu now. If you call her Madame Ru again, she'll be furious." Feng Wu chuckled again. Auntie Qing thought of something else. Guess what? That junior sister brought Lady Duanmu back when she found the ladder on the ground, covered in blood. In the end, it became the story of the farmer and the snake. The more Auntie Qing spoke, the more indignant she became. Why should we be good? The bad guys are so happy now. Feng Wu comforted Auntie Qing. Not necessarily. I don't think things will end well for Madame Ru. However, there must be something special about her that Master Duanmu likes. Auntie Qing said, "What can possibly be unique about her? She's delicate, shy and gentle, and can coax men. Guess what? My husband actually told me to learn from her. But, does he want me to be as vicious as her?" Feng Wu asked, "Doesn't Mr. Qing know what Madame Ru has done?" Auntie Qing said, "How can men see all that? They only see superficial things. Other than that, they'll say women are all jealous. They say we're all jealous of other women's good looks and good personalities. Isn't that infuriating?" The more Auntie Qing spoke, the angrier she got, but Feng Wu burst out laughing. Auntie Qing stared at her. "What are you laughing at?" Feng Wu said, "I thought Mr. Qing was a henpecked husband. How dare he say that? Wasn't he afraid of the consequences?" Auntie Qing said, "Of course there were consequences. I chased him with a frying pan until he was almost crippled." Feng Wu pursed her lips and smiled. She could tell from Auntie Qing's tone that she still had feelings for her husband. Feng Wu changed the subject. "What about Jiying? What did he do?" Aunt Qing said, "Jiying was brought back by Madame Ru herself. He's both a disciple and a godson." By then, Master Duanmu had already been deceived by that woman. Naturally, he would do whatever she said. 3261 The Honey Trap. I don't know what's going on with this Ji Ying, but he learns inscriptions very fast. According to my kid, it seems Ji Ying built a solid foundation when he was young. He can simply memorize inscriptions and use them after a short while. But something's very strange. Feng Wu asked, "What's strange?" Aunt Qing said, "It's very strange. After Ji Ying grew up, he didn't have such talent anymore. His speed at learning inscriptions isn't much faster than my boy now. That's why my boy said that he had a good foundation when he was young." A thought flashed across Feng Wu's mind, but it was too fast for her to catch. She then asked, "Then, which clan is Ji Ying from?" Auntie Qing said, "Which clan? I don't remember if he belongs to any clan. I think he was a poor kid adopted by the Duanmu family. If he had a clan, why would he find a new one?" Feng Wu said, "But didn't your kid say that Ji Ying had a foundation as a child? Only a good family can nurture a child's inscription skills from a young age. Ordinary families can't afford to do that. It was very extravagant to hire an inscription master to teach a child." Auntie Qing was stumped and looked at Feng Wu. "You're right." And then, Feng Wu stared into Auntie Qing's eyes. Aunt Qing looked suspicious. "Why didn't I think of this before? But that shouldn't matter, right? Maybe his family fell from grace in the past?" Aunt Qing didn't think much of it, but she made a mental note of it. It was very difficult to achieve level 8 in inscriptions. How many people were there in the Zhenwu Empire? At least 1,000,000 people. However, among them, only Elder Mei, Elder Yen and Master Wang Zhiheng here had reached level 8. The military academy had a few more, but not too many. Feng Wu had reached that level because she had her beautiful master, who was the most capable cultivator on the continent. So, how could Ji Ying have become a level 8 inscription master? Feng Wu took the opportunity to chat with Auntie Qing for a while longer, learning everything she needed to know about the military academy side. Only then did she get up to leave. Auntie Qing was quite reluctant to see her leave. She kept telling Feng Wu to visit more often. Feng Wu smiled. "Sure. I'll come here often when I'm free. I hope you don't find me annoying." On her way back, she ran into Mo Ziming. She had already found out that the conflict between Mo Ziming and Ji Ying stemmed from their masters. Master Duanmu had always been mighty, condescending and arrogant. He and Master Wang had a grudge against each other because of their junior sister's marriage and misfortune. How could they let this matter rest? Thus, the two sides started fighting. Mo Ziming had always been suppressed, mocked and humiliated by Ji Ying. It would be strange if he didn't hate Ji Ying. Feng Wu felt sorry for Mo Ziming when she saw him. Mo Ziming looked a little embarrassed. He had wanted to put on a good show in front of his junior sister, but in the end he was humiliated by Ji Ying. Xiao Wu, as soon as Mo Ziming started talking, a person walked toward them. It was Ji Ying again. "Young lady, do you know who I am?" Ji Ying, who had returned, stood in front of Feng Wu with his most elegant posture. As he tried to seduce her, he glanced at Mo Ziming provocatively. Mo Ziming was furious. Ji Ying tried to reel Feng Wu in with his crooked smile. 3262 I'll build my own fighter jet. You must be Miss Feng Wu. I'm really sorry. I left in a hurry just now and forgot to greet you. I'm Ji Ying, Master Duanmu's eldest disciple. Miss Feng Wu, I'd like to get to know you better. Crossing her arms, Feng Wu gave Ji Ying a half smile. How hilarious. Ji Ying was actually trying to seduce her. Feng Sun was 10 times more handsome than he was. Where did Ji Ying get the confidence that he could seduce her? Mo Ziming was furious because he felt he had his eye on the girl first. Ji Ying, what are you doing? Mo Ziming glared at Ji Ying. Ji Ying unhurriedly glanced at him. Do I need your approval to court the girl I like? How straightforward. Mo Ziming glared at Ji Ying, unable to say a word. Ji Ying smiled at him. Don't tell me you're in love with Miss Feng Wu too. Mo Ziming's face turned red, but he didn't say anything. Ji Ying smiled and looked at Feng Wu. Miss Feng Wu, who do you think is better, me or Mo Ziming? She gave Ji Ying another half smile. Ji Ying didn't feel embarrassed at all. He even took another step forward and said with a smile, Miss Feng Wu, Do you know that Master Duanmu is the most powerful master in the entire magical equipment department? He's at level 9 now. Feng Wu asked, so? Miss Feng Wu was actually talking to someone like Jiying. Mo Ziming felt like he was about to explode. He took a step forward and pulled Feng Wu behind him, while he stood between Feng Wu and Jiying. His gesture was obvious, but Jiying ignored him and smiled at Feng Wu. Do you want to come to Duanmu's workshop? Jiying smiled at Feng Wu. Our workshop is led by a level 9 master. You can learn a lot. Moreover, Jiying smiled at her. Guess what? He whispered something in Feng Wu's ear. He said, Master Duanmu will soon build a fighter jet. Ji Ying's eyes sparkled. It'll be the first fighter jet of our empire. All participants will be remembered forever. Feng Wu asked, do you think I'm after fame? Ji Ying said, everybody is. Feng Wu laughed. Not me. Ji Ying wouldn't believe her. Feng Wu said, that reminds me of something. Ji Ying frowned. What? Feng Wu said, I'll never become a freeloader. I can make my own fighter jet. Ji Ying seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. He raised his head and laughed out loud. Gosh, my belly. Little Feng Wu, you're so funny. Why are you so adorable? Ji Ying wanted to pinch Feng Wu's cheeks. Mo Ziming raised his hand and blocked Ji Ying. Feng Wu watched Ji Ying stumble back. Ji Ying glared at Mo Ziming. I'm gonna kill you. Mo Ziming wouldn't back down. If you want to fight, bring it on. Seeing that the two of them were about to fight, a person stopped them. Stop. It was Master Wang. Ji Ying didn't have much respect for Master Wang because both of them were level 8 inscription masters. The two of them were equal. 3,263 elated. However, just as Ji Ying was about to ridicule Master Wang, he suddenly saw the purple ribbon and golden seal on the latter's waist. His eyes instantly narrowed. In the imperial court, only the Prime Minister, the Grand Commander, and the Grand Minister were qualified to have the golden seal and purple ribbon. In the magical equipment division, such an ornament represented a level 9 inscription master. Ji Ying was a level 8 inscription master, so he had a silver seal with a green ribbon. Ji Ying stared at Master Wang. Phew! He couldn't believe it. How did Master Wang get his golden seal and purple ribbon? He thought only Master Duanmu was qualified to have them. However, Ji Ying knew very well that since Master Wang had them, he wasn't lying because such a lie would be too easy to expose. Ji Ying knew that arguing with Master Wang was hardly the most important thing right now, nor did he have time to pursue a beautiful girl. He had to inform Master Duanmu and his wife right away. He said, Xiao Wu, I'll see you around. Feng Wu gave him a half-smile. If you dare. Ji Ying gave Feng Wu a suspicious look and didn't quite understand what she meant. Why wouldn't he dare? Ji Ying gave Feng Wu a meaningful look before he turned to leave. By then, Mo Ziming finally noticed his master's golden seal and purple ribbon. His eyes lit up. Master! Master! His voice was very loud, and they were by the main road. Many people coming and going noticed the golden seal and purple ribbon on Master Wang's waist. They immediately spread the news in a frantic manner. This was incredible news. Imperial College had declined because their most advanced inscription masters were only at level 8, while their opponents were level 9 ones. Imperial College used to have a person in charge, but he was forced out by Master Duanmu. Now that Master Wang had reached level 9, how could the people from Imperial College not be excited? The feeling of exultation made them so happy that they cried. Meanwhile, Master Wang said to Mo Ziming and Feng Wu, we'll talk when we get back to the workshop. Feng Wu and Mo Ziming nodded. Feng Wu remained calm. After all, her breakthrough in inscriptions was still very smooth because she had advanced to level 8 without any obstacles. Since Master Wang was already at level 9, and she was at least as good as him, she should be at level 9 as well. Moreover, she was much better than Master Wang. However, Mo Ziming didn't feel as calm. What was that? His master had made a breakthrough. Level 9? That was the same as Master Duanmu. Mo Ziming almost couldn't stop his urge to scream. He had been waiting for this day for too long. The news spread faster than they expected. When Feng Wu and the others arrived at Wang's workshop, the four senior brothers were standing at the door and looking at Master Wang in excitement. Master Wang was also very happy. He had waited for this day for too long. However, he managed to remain calm and only waved at the others. Master, are you really at level 9? Yu Ban rushed to their side. Master Wang pretended to be calm and nodded with a straight face. Yu Ban was trembling. Master, the military academy won't dare bully us anymore, right? We have a level 9 inscription master now. 3264 Master Feng Wu. Master Wang didn't respond to that. Master Duanmu had been a level 9 inscription master for years and had gained enough authority to hide the truth from the masses. He also had a close relationship with his superiors. Such a situation couldn't be changed overnight. Luckily, Master Wang patted his chest pocket, where he had put the 10 drawings. They were his only hope of building a fighter jet. The drawings also enlightened him, making it possible for him to rise to level 9. At that thought, Master Wang looked at Feng Wu with gratitude. Yu Ban followed Master Wang's gaze and smiled when he spotted Feng Wu. Good things come in pairs. Congratulations, Master. Master Wang looked at Yu Ban in bewilderment. What do you mean? Yu Ban said, Master, you've become a level 9 inscription master, and that's the first piece of good news. Another happy event is having a lovely junior sister. A lovely junior sister. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Master Wang shook his head. She's not your junior sister. His disciples were all flustered. They didn't want to lose their junior sister. Mo Ziming stepped forward. Master, Feng Wu is so smart. She must be a quick learner. Please take her in. His junior brothers all chimed in. Master Wang shook his head. That won't be appropriate. Appropriate? They all looked at Master Wang in bewilderment, finding his choice of words rather strange. Master Wang said, Miss Feng Wu is the only reason that I rose to level 9. He walked up to Feng Wu, straightened his clothes, and bowed. His demeanor was so formal. The level 9 master was bowing at Feng Wu. All his 5 disciples were shocked. They looked from Master Wang to Feng Wu in amazement. Thank you, Master Feng Wu, for your instructions. Everyone was astonished. They all looked at Feng Wu. What did their master mean? I thought you were a low-level inscription master. I'm so ashamed of myself. The others were speechless. So, what did that mean? Mo Ziming was the most astonished of them all. He had offered to let Feng Wu stay in his room in the workshop and had offered to teach her a thing or two. What he just heard shocked him. Meanwhile, Master Wang stood straight again. Mo Ziming ground his teeth and stared at Master Wang. Master, what do you mean? Master Wang said mildly, I only rose to level 9 because of Miss Feng Wu's patient instructions. What's so hard to understand? Of course Mo Ziming understood it, he just had a hard time accepting it. If what Master Wang said was true, Mo Ziming would lose all hope. He stared at Feng Wu in frustration. Why didn't you tell me you were so good at inscriptions? Feng Wu was speechless. What kind of question was that? She always tried to tell other people the truth, but all they could see was her pretty face, and wouldn't believe what she said. Why couldn't a pretty girl also be a clever one? Mo Ziming threw a dirty look at Feng Wu and ran out of the room. Feng Wu was speechless. 3265 The second immortal spiritual fruit. Feng Wu looked at Yu Ban, who scratched his head in embarrassment. Things had turned around so abruptly that he didn't know how to face Feng Wu. Master Wang's attitude toward Feng Wu had changed so fast because he had personally seen Feng Wu create the drawings, which demonstrated her capability. He was genuinely impressed. Feng Wu said, Unfortunately, I don't know the second half of the fighter jet's inscriptions yet. Master Wang said, We already have the first half, and that's fast enough. Yu Ban said, I heard from Ji-ing that they've figured out 80% of the inscription propeller. It won't be long before they complete everything. Master Wang smacked his forehead. Let's go. We need to speed up. He then dragged Feng Wu away. Master, Dong Chen, who hadn't said much until now, suddenly spoke. Master Wang said, Come here. You Ban, fetch your senior brother and tell him to join us. Quickly. Feng Wu only realized how stubborn Master Wang was when they started working together. He would work on each word in turn until he figured out everything. Feng Wu rubbed her temples and went back to work with Master Wang. In less than 2 days, Feng Wu worked out 2 drawings on her own. Master Wang examined and verified them. That meant that they had figured out 60% of the fighter jet. They were still behind Master Duanmu, but not by very much. Feng Wu couldn't delay anymore. She had more important things to do. The second fruit would ripen in less than 2 days. Feng Wu had spent the last 2 days on research and gathering information on the magical equipment division. By now, she had figured out what to do. She told Master Wang her speculation. Master Wang's eyes widened. Is that true? Feng Wu nodded. I have very important things to do now. I can't stay here. Master Wang, take care of yourself. Master Wang didn't want Feng Wu to leave since she was their only hope of building the fighter jet. He was only the help. Once she was gone, the research would come to a halt. Master Wang wanted to persuade Feng Wu to stay, but Feng Wu shook her head. The second fruit was too important to lose. Feng Wu made some arrangements before leaving. Of course, the others didn't know anything about it, including Master Duanmu. Coming in and out of the magical equipment division was a difficult thing, but Feng Wu had become quite familiar with Auntie Qing, and the latter would make an exception for her. When Feng Wu left the magical equipment division, Auntie Qing said earnestly, I can cover for you for 3 days at most. After that, you're on your own. Get back in time. Feng Wu nodded. Don't worry. I'll be back in 3 days. Auntie Qing added, Elder Dongfang must never know. Feng Wu nodded again. She won't. After saying goodbye to Auntie Qing, Feng Wu wanted to go back to the fortress to see if Jun Linyuan had come out of seclusion, but she remembered what Auntie Qing told her. If she went back, it might take her too long. What if the immortal spiritual fruit ripened faster than expected? She decided not to visit Jun Linyuan. When he finished cultivating, he could come to her. 3266 Sacred Imperial Spider. At that thought, Feng Wu headed for the Daedalus Woods right away. She went through the Sacred Imperial Spider's woods first. The spider was perched on a branch, looking bored. Bunches of grapes dangled from another branch, and the spider was popping them out of fun. All it could think of was Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan. The last thing it expected to see was the adorable Feng Wu hanging out with the terrifying Jun Linyuan. To make it worse, they were even a couple. The spider had hidden in the dark and watched them for a while. Poor little Feng Wu. Jun Linyuan had total control of her. The sacred imperial spider couldn't understand why she wasn't afraid of him. The girl said she would be back. When can I see her again? Somehow, the sacred imperial spider felt bored. It missed having Feng Wu around. She brought so much life to these woods, laughing one moment and asking for help the next. She was so much fun. The spider was still pondering over that question when a figure popped into sight. The spider recognized the person. Feng Wu! The spider was astonished. What a coincidence! However, the spider only glanced at Feng Wu and snorted. I thought you'd never come back. I said I would visit you, and here I am. Feng Wu chuckled. The spider snorted. How long has it been since the last time we met? I thought you'd never come. Did that devil lock you up? What devil? Feng Wu was perplexed. He's not a devil to you. You were so familiar with that teenager. Don't pretend you don't know him. Feng Wu said, Are you talking about Jun Linyuan? The spider snorted and looked away. I don't want to hear that name. Feng Wu chuckled. She remembered Jun Linyuan said he used to ransack the Daedalus Woods when he was little. Jun Linyuan could beat up the sacred imperial spider when he was only a little boy, while Feng Wu was still far inferior to the spider now. The comparison made Feng Wu rather frustrated. Seeing that Feng Wu wouldn't say anything, the spider stared at her. What? Has Jun Linyuan made you forget how to speak? Feng Wu was speechless. The spider said proudly, What, are you afraid of him? Just hit him back. Feng Wu asked, Are you bold enough to do that? The spider didn't know what to say. It glared at Feng Wu before turning away. It had waited so long to see her again, but she hadn't brought it any joy. Feng Wu said, Hey, don't be so petty. The spider wouldn't talk to Feng Wu. Feng Wu was on the same side as Jun Linyuan, and the spider was very upset. Feng Wu said, If you don't talk to me, I'm leaving now. The spider still wouldn't talk to her. It soon realized things had become very quiet, so it turned around. Where was little Feng Wu? Was she really gone? The spider complained, Why did she run away? I'm not done yet. Jun Linyuan beat me up, and he'll pay for that. Feng Wu, come back. There was no sound at all. The spider became flustered. Was I so mean just then? Did I scare Xiao Wu off? Just then, the spider saw a person hanging upside down from a branch, and her face was right in front of the spider. 3267 I must find the immortal spiritual fruit. Boo! Feng Wu stuck out her tongue at the spider. The spider was scared out of its wits. You! It glared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu retorted, Did you say you want to get back at him? Aren't you afraid Jun Linyuan will cut off your other legs? That poked the spider in its sore spot. It glared at Feng Wu. What was wrong with Jun Linyuan? He was a capable cultivator who didn't talk much. Why was he showing off his achievements to a little girl? Feng Wu said, All right. I'm not siding with Jun Linyuan. Don't worry. The spider snorted. Of course, it wouldn't believe Feng Wu. Feng Wu took out a bunch of snacks from her pocket. They were all human food that she had taken from the fortress. Feng Wu had traded her points for them, and she gave quite a few to the sacred imperial spider before saying, I really have to leave now. The sacred imperial spider was unhappy again. Feng Wu said, I'm going to the Dongsang Kingdom's fortress this time. Don't worry, I'll be back in 3 days. I'll hang out with you then. She turned to leave. Are you going there for the immortal spiritual fruit? The sacred imperial spider asked from behind Feng Wu. Feng Wu stopped involuntarily and turned to look at the spider. The sacred imperial spider said, You are. Feng Wu didn't answer. The spider said, Did you take the first immortal spiritual fruit too? Feng Wu still said nothing. The spider said, I knew it was you. Only a smart human girl like you can swindle such a good thing from Sakiya. Feng Wu chuckled and said nothing. Sakiya isn't with the peacock anymore, the sacred imperial spider told Feng Wu. Feng Wu looked perplexed. The spider said, You tricked Sakiya once, so of course he's going to learn from it. A few days ago, he moved the entire immortal spiritual tree into his fortress. What? Feng Wu was genuinely surprised. It's been moved to the fortress. The difficulty had increased exponentially. If it were still in the peacock's forest, Feng Wu could have disguised herself as Bujingyu and snuck around Mr. Sakiya to steal the immortal spiritual fruit. She had planned everything. She never expected Mr. Sakiya to take such drastic measures. He had moved the tree into the fortress. If Feng Wu wanted to steal the immortal spiritual fruit, she would have to get into the fortress first. However, the fortress was filled with capable experts and was even more heavily guarded. If she wasn't careful, Feng Wu felt an unprecedented sense of danger. She looked at the spider and said solemnly, I know it's very dangerous, but I must get that immortal spiritual fruit. She had to get it even if she had to risk her life. The spider asked, Is it that important? Feng Wu nodded solemnly. I owe someone a favor. If I don't pay them back, I won't have a clear conscience for the rest of my life. Yes, it's very important. Bao Air was dying. Feng Wu felt guilty every time she thought of the little girl in the Golden Palace. With this guilt, she wouldn't get too far in her cultivation. The spider asked, "Where's your young man?" "He's not mine." Feng Wu wanted to protest, but didn't say anything in the end because the mood felt quite solemn right now. Feng Wu said, "He has his own things to do." The spider took a deep breath and finally made up its mind. It spat out a golden bead and handed it to Feng Wu. Feng Wu looked at the sacred imperial spider in confusion. 3268 Immortal Spiritual Tree. The spider took a deep breath and finally made up its mind. It spat out a golden bead and handed it to Feng Wu. Feng Wu looked at the sacred imperial spider in confusion. The spider stared at Feng Wu. "Take it." It didn't want Feng Wu to leave, so it feigned a harsh tone. Feng Wu said, "You said last time this golden bead can help me avoid the other beast kings in the Dayless Woods, right?" "Thank you, little spider." "Avoid other beast kings? Do you think that's the only use of my golden bead? You'll be so surprised." The sacred imperial spider didn't say anything else. It only urged Feng Wu, "Go now. Don't bother me. I'm going to sleep." After that, it lay down on a thick tree trunk and turned its back to Feng Wu. Feng Wu looked at the sky and saw that it was going to rain. Traveling in the rain wasn't very convenient, so she said to the spider, "I'm really leaving now, you hear me?" "Yes," the spider sounded upset. Soon, Feng Wu was dashing toward the Dongsang Kingdom's fortress, which was known as Sun Castle. The spider only sat up after Feng Wu left. Seeing that Feng Wu had turned into a black dot in the forest, the spider shook its head. "Why does she have to get the immortal spiritual fruit? I don't know if she'll come back alive. How annoying." It turned away from Feng Wu. Meanwhile, Feng Wu headed north without stopping. There were 3 ways to get to Sun Castle: by water, by land, and through the mountains. Nest, the Junwo Empire's fortress, was in the south, and Sun Castle was in the north. A vast grassland sat in the middle, which was also their battlefield. The ocean was in the east, and the Dayless Woods was in the west. Therefore, she could take the sea route in the east, travel across the grassland battlefield in the middle, or go through the Dayless Woods in the west. Feng Wu hadn't explored the sea route yet, nor was she familiar with it, so she wouldn't choose it. The central battlefield was a flat grassland. Anyone from Nest or Sun Castle would immediately notice a moving figure. There probably wouldn't be anywhere to hide. She couldn't choose that path. Hence, Feng Wu chose the Dayless Woods. The Dayless Woods might be a dangerous place for other people, but Feng Wu had a map of it in her head as well as the sacred imperial spider's golden bead. As long as she was careful, she would be safe there. When she reached the Peacock's Woods, Feng Wu thought for a moment and decided to check it out. What if Mr. Sakia had left some clues there? However, when Feng Wu got there, things were completely different from what she had seen before. The row of houses had all been demolished. Large trees had also been transplanted in the originally flat courtyard. At a glance, Feng Wu wouldn't have noticed anything if she hadn't looked closely. It was as if it had been a jungle all along. No one would know Mr. Sakia or the wooden houses had ever been here. Feng Wu's eyes lit up. Wait. On the spot where the immortal spiritual tree had been, there was still an immortal spiritual tree. It hadn't been moved away? Feng Wu's eyes flickered. Had the spider lied to her? No, Feng Wu rejected that idea right away. The spider was terrified of Jun Linyuan. It would never lie to her. Moreover, she could tell the spider treated her as a friend. So, Feng Wu was about to take a closer look when she saw a peacock with its tail spread looking at the immortal spiritual tree as it slowly circled it. 3269 Feng Wu the Great Actress, 1. Suddenly, the Peacock King turned its head in Feng Wu's direction. Feng Wu had been hiding behind a rock, and she flinched at its stare. If she remembered correctly, the Peacock King was on Mr. Sakia's side. But that wasn't completely true. In any case, Feng Wu had bribed the peacock with a semi-divine pill last time. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to escape after stealing the immortal spiritual fruit. At that moment, Feng Wu noticed the peacock was mumbling something as it walked. "Sakia, why are you so treacherous? You're already gone, but you still set this trap and want me to guard it for you." Feng Wu thought, "What's that peacock doing?" The peacock glanced in Feng Wu's direction and continued, "Who are you guarding against? The second prince's men? Poor prince. If his men were here, they'd probably be blown up." Feng Wu thought, "Who's the second prince?" The peacock glanced in her direction again. "What a pity. The thief who stole the first immortal spiritual fruit was so smart. She must know you've set a trap here. Do you think your trick will work?" Feng Wu finally understood. Before Mr. Sakia left, he set a trap. She and the second prince's men were his enemies. He didn't care which of them walked into the trap. Feng Wu looked at the immortal spiritual tree. The fruit was indeed still on it. If the Peacock King hadn't said so in advance and she hadn't carefully studied it, she might not have been able to tell that it was a fake immortal spiritual fruit. This Peacock King was actually quite lovely. Feng Wu smiled and threw a semi-divine pill at it. With a swoosh, the pill drew an arc in the air. The Peacock King pretended not to be aware of its surroundings, but its body twisted slightly, and it easily caught the semi-divine pill with its claw. After that, the Peacock King quickly hid it in its sleeve. Its expression remained stoic. It glanced at the immortal spiritual tree and walked back in satisfaction. Feng Wu dashed off toward Sun Castle. Although she was now a semi-divine medicine refiner, it was still very difficult to refine semi-divine pills. The success rate was quite low. Her success rate was already on the higher side, but up until now, she had only saved up a bottle of pills. The medicinal herbs were difficult to gather. Luckily, Feng Wu still had some all-purpose transformation liquid. The liquid worked on magical beasts and plants the same way it did on human beings. Therefore, Feng Wu had been watering her herbs with the liquid, hoping to get some high-quality herbs. Fearing that she would disturb her beautiful master, Feng Wu didn't plant the herbs in her space. Instead, she planted them in the yard of the general's mansion. No one would touch the herbs planted there. As Feng Wu moved through the woods, she mulled over the information the peacock had given her. The second prince. Feng Wu had been paying attention only to the talented, showy crown prince, Night Owl, and had forgotten to ask about the other princes. Feng Wu recalled that the Dongsang kingdom used a blood tax system. Once the crown prince ascended the throne, his brothers would all die. That included the second prince and all his other brothers. 3270 Feng Wu the Great Actress, 2. The kings of the Dongsang kingdom never had any uncles because once the new king ascended the throne, he would kill all his brothers. Right now, Night Owl was the only one who had power. The other princes would definitely join forces to kill Night Owl in order to survive. At that thought, Feng Wu's eyes lit up. It seemed that she could make use of some of those people. She had specially made some clothes for this occasion. One side of the clothes was in the style of the Junwu Empire, but it was in the Dongsang Kingdom style on the other side. She only needed to turn the clothes inside out, and she would be dressed just like any other Dongsanger. In addition, Feng Wu was fluent in the language of the Dongsang Kingdom and was an excellent actress. As long as she put her heart into her role, no one would see through her disguise. Sun Castle was right ahead. Feng Wu took out an armband from her pocket. Feng Sun had dug up a lot from the sacred imperial spider's woods, and she had kept a few armbands as props. Now she could use them. Feng Wu saw a team in the crowd. She threw something on the ground and hid herself. There were 5 people on this team. At the front was a young man with a handsome face, and behind him were his companions. There were 4 men and 1 woman in the team. The girl was a healer, and the other 4 were combat-type cultivators. When they walked past Feng Wu's hiding place and were a short distance away, Feng Wu emerged from the woods and shouted at them from behind, "Did you lose something?" She spoke the Dongsang Kingdom's language with perfect pronunciation. Feng Wu had the magical soul vine on her, and the magical soul vine transmitted the language of the Dongsang Kingdom to her mind. Therefore, Feng Wu could speak the language with no accent at all. Hence, the 5 people in front didn't suspect Feng Wu at all when they turned around. In their eyes, Feng Wu was a fair-skinned, sweet girl. She looked quite modest, and they liked her very much. Feng Wu had an affable aura about her. When she smiled, her eyes curved into little crescent moons. Her smile was as warm as sunlight and seemed to have healing power. In the Dongsang Kingdom, being adorable was much more important than being beautiful. The 4 teenage boys' eyes lit up when they saw Feng Wu. Pointing at a patch of grass behind them, Feng Wu stepped forward and asked, "Did you lose something?" They followed Feng Wu's finger and looked down. There was a money bag on the ground. The money bag had the logo of the magical soul vine that was unique to the Dongsang Kingdom on it, and the stitching was definitely in the style of the Dongsang Kingdom. "What is it?" The most lively teenager in the group picked up the bag and casually opened it. Everyone gasped when they saw what was inside. Essence crystals. The sunlight shone through the slight gaps in the leaves onto the essence crystals, making them sparkle. There were hundreds of them. "Funo, are those essence crystals?" The others in the team all looked at the teenager named Funo. Feng Wu made a mental note of the bright and cheerful teenager's name. Funo nodded and said to their captain, "Captain." The captain looked at Feng Wu. "These essence crystals." Feng Wu gave him a perfectly guileless look. "Aren't those essence crystals yours? I was walking behind you and I thought they were yours. If they aren't yours, I'd better stay here and wait for the owner. They're so valuable, the owner will definitely come here to look for them." 3271 Sun Castle. After that, Feng Wu was about to take the essence crystals back from Funo. "Who says it's not ours?" Just then, the only girl on the team rushed up and snatched the bag of essence crystals from Feng Wu's hands. The other 4 members of the team looked at one another. Funo wanted to speak, but the others gave him warning looks. He shrugged in resignation and stopped talking. Feng Wu asked innocently, "Are they really yours?" The girl's name was Haney. She darted a look at Feng Wu and snorted. "If it's not mine, do you think it's yours? I embroidered the pattern on the bag myself. Isn't that right, Sanji?" Haney asked her friends. Sanji's sense of morality was obviously lower than Funo's. He immediately nodded. "Yes, it's Haney's. I can prove it." Funo was speechless. The others in the team didn't deny it either. Feng Wu chuckled inwardly, but she still put on a sweet smile. "I told you it was yours. Wasn't I right?" She grinned, revealing her white teeth. Her smile was sweet and very adorable. The captain glanced at Feng Wu. "Which team are you from? Why are you here alone?" Feng Wu had caught quite a few people in the Dayless Woods and had learned about the distribution of the Dongsang Kingdom's troops. Dongsang was different from the Junwu Empire. The military academy and imperial college had always competed in the survival of the fittest. The Dongsang Kingdom only had one army, and the great general was Xue Zhibei. Below Xue Zhibei were 2 guardians, followed by 50 spiritual overlord generals, who were under Mr. Sakiya's control. Each of them was in charge of 100 cultivators. General Gucci was one of the cultivators. Feng Wu said, "I'm Kita, a member of Group 8 under General Gucci. My team was broken up by the Junwu Empire in the Dayless Woods. We lost contact, and I couldn't find anyone else." Feng Wu wasn't making it up. As a matter of fact, she had taken out one of General Gucci's teams on her way here, and it was Group 8. She was playing Kita, one of the members of that group. The team didn't doubt Feng Wu's words at all. That was because she looked, talked, and behaved just like any native Dongsanger. Who would suspect her? The captain looked at Feng Wu sympathetically. "Since you're alone, why don't you come with us?" The other team members also nodded. They felt guilty toward this girl. They had just deceived such an innocent and kind girl. Haney frowned, but before she could say no, Feng Wu said with a smile, "All right, let's go back together. I'm scared to go alone. What if I run into bad people?" Hence, with the help of a bag of essence crystals, Feng Wu managed to infiltrate the team. Feng Wu's performance along the way was flawless. She didn't reveal much about herself but managed to learn a lot about them. It turned out that the Dongsang Kingdom's fortress wasn't a wartime construction like the Junwo Empire's. Instead, the Dongsang Kingdom was confident enough to build the fortress into a city. In the middle of the city was the general's residence. Mr. Sakia and the Crown Prince both lived in the great general's residence. At the front of the city were 40 brigades led by spiritual kings. The other 10 brigades led by spiritual overlords guarded the great general's residence. Between the front line and the great general's residence was a wide street that connected the north and south. There were shops on both sides of the street, and behind the shops were residential areas with individual courtyards. 3272 Armory, 1. This was very different from the Junwo Empire. Nest Fortress was divided into different living quarters in the south and north. The students lived in the south, and the generals lived in the north. But in Sun Castle, the residents were divided into groups. There were 50 groups in total. They took turns guarding the front line. When they weren't on duty, they stayed in Sun Castle. There were quite a few shops here, many of which weren't opened by cultivators. Commoners walked around the city. In other words, when all of Nest Fortress was under martial law and preparing for war, everyone in Sun Castle was living comfortably, as if they were living in an ordinary city. Feng Wu saw countless shops along the street. There were many girls waving their handkerchiefs upstairs in the Spring Breeze Pavilion. The smell of food came out of a gourmet restaurant. There was an armory that sold armor and weapons, a pavilion that specialized in selling crossbows, and even a bookstore with rows of mahogany bookshelves. Feng Wu had just arrived and wanted to quickly look around Sun Castle, so she turned to the others and said, "I'll be safe here in Sun Castle. I guess it's time to say goodbye." Feng Wu smiled and spoke in a sweet voice, and the teenagers liked her so much that they couldn't bear to part with her. Funo said, "We haven't reached your group's living quarters yet." Feng Wu smiled and pointed at the bookstore. "I'm going to buy some books and wait for my teammates. They might be back soon. I don't know how long I'll have to wait. So, I won't keep you any longer." The teenagers all wanted to speak, but Funo beat them to it. "I'm free anyway. Captain, go and submit the mission. I'll wait here with Miss Kita." He then looked at Feng Wu. It's not safe for a girl to wait by the roadside. The captain was very reluctant, but he had no choice after hearing what Funo said. In the end, he only nodded at Funo and Feng Wu and left with the team. After they were some distance away, Haney said mockingly, "Is Funo an idiot? He's giving up the essence crystals for a pretty girl." Next to her, Sanji rubbed his nose. "But these essence crystals, I feel that I've let little Kita down." Haney was furious. "Little Kita? Are you very familiar with her? Since when did she become Little Kita?" Sanji didn't dare say a word. Meanwhile, Feng Wu and Funo waited on the street. Because Dongsangers preferred sweet and adorable girls, Feng Wu had chosen to dress up in that style. A thin fringe covered her forehead, and it didn't look thick or clumsy. On her head were 2 cute buns. Her hairpins had bows on them, and a few strands of curly hair framed her face. The dress wasn't the bright red color she usually wore, but was in a delicate pink shade. Her skin was as smooth as jade, so tender that one couldn't bring themselves to touch it. She looked soft and adorable. When she smiled, she had 2 dimples. She was lovely beyond description. Funo stood beside her and stole glances at her from time to time. He bustled around and tried to be as courteous as he could. Seeing that people passing by kept looking at her, Funo was a little jealous. He said to Feng Wu, "The sun is too bright here. Why don't we take a break in the bookstore next door and read while we wait for your teammates?" Feng Wu glanced at the bookstore. She was interested in the bookstore, but she was even more interested in the armory. Feng Wu wondered if there would be fighter jets for sale. 3273 Armory, 2. Without another word, Feng Wu chose to enter the armory. All Funo wanted was to stay by Feng Wu's side. He didn't care which shop she went to. After Feng Wu entered the armory, Funo immediately introduced, "This armory is the biggest weapons store in Sun Castle. What do you want to buy? I know the owner. He can give you a discount." Funo was trying to please Feng Wu, but Feng Wu only smiled at him and didn't say much. The armory was indeed a top-notch weapons store. Other shops couldn't compare with it. The weapons were divided into knives, swords, crossbows, bows, and so on. The armor included light armor and heavy armor, in both male and female styles. There were also inscription bombs. However, the inscription bombs sold here were at relatively low levels. They weren't as good as the ones which Mu Yen had given to her before. Feng Wu couldn't find a fighter jet. It made sense. How could a store sell such precious military equipment? However, Feng Wu saw a small model of a fighter jet on the shelf. Funo introduced enthusiastically, "This is a fighter jet model. Although it's tiny, it has a small inscription propeller built in. It can fly." Feng Wu looked at Funo in surprise. Seeing that Feng Wu didn't believe him, Funo said, "Come with me to the backyard. I'll show you." Funo seemed to be really familiar with the shop owner. He took the model to the backyard, and the shop owner only smiled and nodded, and didn't stop him. When they reached the backyard, Feng Wu kept an eye on Funo. To her surprise, the small fighter jet model really took off. Funo looked at Feng Wu smugly, as if he was asking for praise. "Am I right? It really can fly." But Funo had no idea what Feng Wu was thinking. After the model landed, Feng Wu let Funo see that she liked it very much. She couldn't take her eyes off it, and it was obvious that she wanted it. "You know that this isn't for sale." The shop owner stared at Funo and pulled him to the side. "This is the only one in the shop, and I got it from the military department. It's used as decoration and to boost this shop's appearance. You know that. Uncle Wang, I beg you, just let her play with it for a while. When she gets tired of it, I'll bring it back. Is that okay?" Meanwhile, Feng Wu was staring at the inscription weapons and armor. The Dongsang Kingdom was indeed worthy of its reputation. The level of the inscriptions on the armor was really high. No wonder when two teams of similar strength fought head-on, the Junwu Empire always had more casualties. Their inscription armor and inscription weapons were so advanced. Moreover, the cultivators could buy them directly from the armory. The Junwu Empire wasn't like that at all. Because of the difficulty in forging inscription armaments, only the stronger cultivators had the right to them, while the weaker ones had to wait in line. Feng Wu picked up a long saber and looked at the price tag on the side. 1,000 essence crystals. It was quite expensive. Ordinary people couldn't afford it. Feng Wu picked up the saber and studied it carefully, memorizing the data. Meanwhile, the shop owner finally agreed to Funo's request. He would lend the model of the fighter jet to Funo, but asked that Funo return it in 3 days. "Thank you, Uncle Wang." Funo was extremely grateful to the shop owner. 3274 Curiosity. "Kita, let's go play with the model jet." Funo went up to Feng Wu and tried to take her hand. However, Feng Wu dodged in time. She frowned at Funo. Funo was stunned. Hadn't Kita always been a nice girl? Why did she suddenly become so distant? "I borrowed the model from the shop owner. Shall we go play together?" Funo quickly put on a bright smile. Feng Wu's eyes were much sharper than ordinary people's, so she could tell Funo was a little annoyed. However, he suppressed his anger and continued to fawn over her. Feng Wu was speechless. How could she accept the courtship of a stranger, let alone someone with a bad temper like Funo? Feng Wu nodded at him. "That won't be necessary." Funo's face darkened. "Kita, it took me some effort to borrow this." It was more like a rental because he had to pay a high fee. He could tell that Kita liked it very much. Funo had already formed a plan on winning the innocent girl's heart, but suddenly, the girl's demeanor seemed to change. She didn't look like a little lamb anymore. Feng Wu said, "Enjoy the model yourself." After that, Feng Wu left the shop. Funo immediately put down the model and chased after her, but when he rushed out, Kita was nowhere to be seen. Funo was furious, and his eyes flashed with a malicious glint. The shop owner looked at Funo with a smile. This is the first time I've seen you fail. But doesn't that trick work anymore? Look at how scared the little girl was. Funo glared at the shop owner and cursed under his breath. She can't run from me forever. I know where she lives. Uncle Wang said, Are you going to wait outside her door or barge into her room at night? Funo's eyes were cold. That's none of your business. A warning look appeared on the shop owner's face. You can sleep with her, but don't kill her. You know Mr. Sakiya is in town now. If the young lady complains to Mr. Sakiya, you will be finished. Understand? Funo sneered, his lowered eyes flashing ruthlessly. No girl in this world had ever dared refuse him. After leaving the armory, Feng Wu went into a restaurant. This restaurant was called Till You Drop. It meant drink till you drop. To stay out of Funo's sight, Feng Wu found a quiet table and was going to think things through as she tried to figure out how to catch Bu Jingyu. Feng Wu ordered quite a few dishes and sat there alone, listening carefully to her surroundings. There were two middle-aged men near her. They looked like they were about to retire from the army. Indeed, the two of them were talking about this topic. Chow, I would never have expected this. Only a few of us survived. Chow raised his glass and toasted the person opposite him. Lu, we joined the army in the same year. In the blink of an eye, we're about to retire. Lu said, That's right. Have you thought about what you'll do after you retire from the army? They both fell silent. The Dongsang Kingdom had a blood tax system. They were all selected children who had been raised by the system. They were taught to read and practice martial arts. When they entered the army, they weren't allowed to marry or contact their families. Feng Wu remembered they weren't allowed to leave the army until they were 40 years old. After that, they could get married and stay in contact with their families. However, they weren't allowed to have anything to do with the army, and their sons weren't allowed to join the army either. 3275 Prime Minister Chu and Marshal Ant. These two men were victims of the blood tax system. Feng Wu was curious. What did the exploited people of the Dongsang Kingdom think of the blood tax system? In order to truly become a citizen of Dongsang, Feng Wu had to integrate with them and understand their thoughts and opinions. Therefore, she would try to learn more about them whenever she had the chance. Feng Wu listened attentively to their conversation. Lu asked Chow, Have you thought about what you'll do after you leave the army? Chow was silent for a while and smiled bitterly. Who knows? Anyway, we've saved up some money over the years. We can always buy a few acres of fertile land and live comfortably. Lu said, It's a pity that we're only 40 years old. There's still so much time after we retire. The money we've saved up is still not enough. Chow smiled. There will be enough if we don't spend too much. Lu shook his head. I really hope there's a windfall, and I can save enough money for the rest of my life. Chow said, Lu, you're too greedy. This won't do. You've always been like this. Chow wanted to go on, but Lu impatiently waved his hand. All right. I know that. I'm only alive now because I can restrain myself. Otherwise, how can I work as Mr. Sakiya's doorman? Chow nodded. Mr. Sakiya? The doorman. Feng Wu, keep a mental note of Lu's face. I heard Prime Minister Chu is coming here, said Lu. As far as Feng Wu could remember, the Dongsang Kingdom only had a chancellor. Where did this Prime Minister Chu come from? Who was he? Feng Wu knew the chancellor and the prime minister could exist at the same time. They had different job descriptions. The prime minister had a higher status than the chancellor. Moreover, there was only one prime minister of a country, but it could have two chancellors. Chow said, That's right. I heard Prime Minister Chu is coming, but I don't know when he'll arrive. We have to be careful so that he won't notice us. Otherwise, we might get killed if we make any mistakes. Back then, one of the doormen had said something to Prime Minister Chu and got his throat cut for it. Prime Minister Chu is Mr. Sakiya's teacher and Mr. Sakiya respects him like a god. How can we offend him? Do you think anyone dares to call Prime Minister Chu by his full name? Chu Tianxiao? Shut up. Chao glared at Lu. Do you want to die? How dare you call him by his name? Lu was also frightened. He subconsciously looked around. Seeing that no one noticed this, he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Chao glared at him. Have you forgotten how terrifying Prime Minister Chu is? If you don't want to live, don't drag me down with you. As he spoke, Chao picked up his hat, turned around, and left the restaurant in a hurry. Feng Wu was a little surprised. What did she just hear? Prime Minister Chu was Chu Tianxiao, her third senior brother. And her third senior brother was Mr. Sakiya's teacher? Feng Wu was speechless. Then what should Mr. Sakiya call her? Little martial aunt. She imagined how Mr. Sakiya, the scholarly man with a calm temperament, would bow to her as a junior and respectfully address her as martial aunt. Feng Wu almost choked on her own saliva. Lu was as startled as a bird right now. He threw a dirty look at Feng Wu and turned to leave. Meanwhile, Feng Wu was already sitting on the bench next to him. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.